Alumni Association for an epic 4-day, 3-night trip to Orlando. Watch the Tigers take on the Florida Gators in this SEC showdown. Enjoy a 3-night stay in sunny Orlando, including airfare and exclusive access to all the game day excitement. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Packages are limited, so act fast. Visit lsualumni.org for more information and book your spot today.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. Equinox EV and the all-new Equinox offer award-winning quality and style to see you through the holiday season. See why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
As we all live longer, age is really just a number, but retirement is so much more than one. Edward Jones Financial Advisors want to know what you want out of your retirement so we can help you get there. Together, we can look at the big picture and make a strategy to help you reach your goals. Because you can't prepare for the unexpected if you don't know where you're headed. Call your local Edward Jones office to schedule an appointment today. Edward Jones, member SIPC. In Baton Rouge, call Tyler Juneau. In Central, call Chris Baker.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on. Presented by Super Chevy. See your Super Chevy dealers of Baton Rouge. This is LSU football.
Snap to Nussmeier. Little sprint out to his right. Looking downfield. Tosses man open. Lacey at the 14. Hits the far sideline. Goes airborne. Into the end zone. Touchdown. Fighting Tigers. Nussmeier flips it to Durham, far side. Durham off and running, far side 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Today, from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, it's the LSU Tigers and the Florida Gators. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff and Matt Musso.
Welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Charles Hanniger, along with Matt Musso, and our entire staff as we walk you up to the kickoff of this afternoon's game between the LSU Tigers and the Florida Gators. LSU comes in with a record of 6-3, 3-2 in the Southeastern Conference, ranked 21st in the nation by the College Football Playoff poll. Last week, LSU lost to Alabama 42-13 in Tiger Stadium. It was the second consecutive loss for LSU following a setback at Texas A&M that's put the Tiger season on its heels. At halftime of the Texas A&M game, LSU led by 10 points. They had first place in the SEC in their sights, in control of their own destiny in the Southeastern Conference and for the College Football Playoff. And then an interception, a backup quarterback, a running threat, and the lead was gone. 2 weeks later, with an overflowing crowd in Tiger Stadium, LSU laid an absolute egg. Not just beaten, but dominated by the Alabama Crimson Tide in a game that most observers thought would be close going in. So LSU goes to Gainesville today, still with slim postseason hopes on the line, but more than that, looking for an identity as a team. We can talk about the same things that we've been talking about for the past 2 months. Can LSU establish a running game? Can LSU avoid costly turnovers? Can LSU avoid a running quarterback if there, in fact, is one today? We'll talk about Lagway in a second. But mostly this is about how will LSU respond. This is arguably the lowest point of the Brian Kelly era, at least where LSU has some postseason aspirations on the table. They're 2-7 in their last 9 under Kelly against ranked teams, meaning they piled up a lot of wins against teams that they're supposed to beat, but not as many as the teams that are on an equal level. Today, they go in as a small favorite in Gainesville against a team that's also searching for a win. Florida's 4-5 5, 2-4 in the Southeastern Conference. They are not ranked. The biggest question mark for Florida coming into this season was would Billy Napier survive as head coach? In his third year, as is Kelly, Napier's brutal schedule suggested that it was going to be a tough season for him to survive. But a lifeline suggested by Athletic Director Scott Strickland just 2 weeks ago took that pressure off. Napier will be back in 2025 to coach the Gators. What type of team he has, well, that's up to him. And frankly, Strickland's got bigger fish to fry with his basketball coach right now. So the football team has got a little bit of what you would call free money. 2 weeks ago, DJ Lagway, the outstanding freshman quarterback, left the Georgia game with what looked like a season-ending injury. Carted off with a serious hamstring issue. We weren't sure that we would see Lagway again in 2024. But here he is 2 weeks later, scheduled to start this afternoon's game. The Gators need him. Behind him, there is only a preferred walk-on quarterback that frankly last week looked a little bit overmatched in their loss to Texas 49-17. So Musa, what we got today is a couple of teams that need a win, maybe for different reasons, but need a win. Neither one of them is won in 4 weeks. So when you talk about sense of urgency, listen, we're not talking about college football playoffs or SEC championship game or anything. We're just talking about two teams need a win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Hanny, the last 6 quarters for LSU, when you've been humbled like that, you're looking for one thing, and that's a get-right game. And this could maybe be that. It's interesting, like you said, can they establish – we're having the same conversations. Can they establish a run game? Can they do all of this? It's kind of like you are who you are at this point in November, right? But you can still get right. I mean, Florida, you mentioned Lagway. You expect him to not be 100%, obviously, but they're also down at least 8 other starters combined on offense and defense. This is a game that LSU, you need to win, and you kind of have to win.
Well, there's 2 coaches that in their third year you can ask a legitimate question. Why isn't your roster deeper? I think that'll be something for probably more for the off season. We'll take a break and we'll come back and get things started. We'll go down to Gainesville and check in with Gordy Rush. He's fresh off a trip to Epcot, so we'll see how he's doing as they get ready for LSU in Florida. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Skull Session. Defense. Presented by Edward Jones. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
It is about 4 hours and 50 minutes from kickoff in Gainesville, Florida. Let's go down now and check in with Gordy Rush. Gordy, I've heard of all kinds of little tricks that teams do to get out of a funk. You know, maybe they throw a party, maybe they reverse the things at practice, maybe they change what they're wearing, all kind of things. I've never heard send the broadcast team to Epcot as a way to break a losing streak, but maybe that'll snap the Tigers out of it for you guys yesterday.
I'm with the LSU alumni trip down in Orlando, so I came down a little early, and I wore a Vikings hat the entire time through Epcot. It was the international food trip, or food week, and so it was quite the experience. So a lot of Go Tigers, Go Vikings last night at Epcot.
Well, at least they're all purple and gold, right?
There you go.
Absolutely.
Matched.
Absolutely.
Staying with the motif.
Skull.
All right, Gordy, let's talk about DJ Lagway. You know enough about hamstring injuries. You've had them. We've talked about them a lot over the years, and usually it's a 4-week injury to get right, and that depends on the severity of it. DJ Lagway, we watched get carted off the field 3 weeks ago against Georgia. Looked like his season was done. He's back. He's going to start today. Just give me your best read on what kind of effectiveness you think he'll have.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, was it? I think it was our open week, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry. That's correct. It was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, look, I think all indications, everybody tells me he's going to play, right? So let's start there. So I'm expecting him to play. And if he's playing, he's limited. And so, I think that, and Brian Kelly kind of alluded that on his coach's show, what sort of limitations are they going to put on. I went back and looked at his high school film at Willis High School up in Texas last year. He can sling football. I mean, he could be really, really effective, I think, with some half rollouts and throwing the ball. I can't imagine they're going to do that many quarterback runs, even though that's where LSU is vulnerable. And the last 2 games, what Reed and then Milroe have done, that's what makes sense. But I just – do I really want to roll dice, injure that ham streak again, because you got Ole Miss next week and then you got a winnable game against Florida State. So those are my thoughts on that. Is how limited is he going to be, right? How limited is he going to be? And then what does LSU defensively do? And if I'm Blake Baker, if they're going to play him, maybe I'm going to be more aggressive than normal and not play the zone read and kind of the responsibility, and let's test him out and see if we can chase him down a little bit and aggravate that thing.
All right, he is not Jalen Milroe as a running threat, not even close. Here's what he does have in common with Milroe. He throws the deep ball pretty well. Here's the number that we got. 13 of 20 attempts for 543 yards and 4 touchdowns on passes that are at least in the air for 20 yards. Now, I'm not saying he throws the long rainbows the way Milroe does, but he can throw the ball down the field. Gordy, LSU's safety play has been, let's use a nice word, lacking. So if you're not worried about Lagway running the football as much, you got to be worried about him throwing it over your head.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you've got to account for Milroe in the run game, that means you're playing 2 things. You're playing cover 0, that's man-to-man, no help, or you're playing cover 1, that's man-to-man all over the place and somebody in the middle of the football field. And I think that's probably what they do, the latter. He throws a great long ball. I mean, he's a really talented thrower, and we're just seeing glimpses of it now. So I'm with you. I think that you don't want to give away the home run ball and kind of keep things in front of you a little bit. And I'm not in the mode that I feel like I need to spy him or account for him in the run game until he proves me otherwise.
All right, let's talk about just some of the fundamental things that went wrong for LSU against Alabama. We did the film study. It's on YouTube, Richard Dixon and I, and there's just so many missed assignments, and I know people get tired of hearing that. It's why didn't you scheme this better? Gordy, I think that there were so many more missed assignments than it was missed schematically, but there was also a disconnect. Brian Kelly talked about consistency a lot on Monday, and it just wasn't a whole lot there. When you went back and looked at Alabama again, what did you see?
Well, I thought first off, Alabama hadn't shown a whole lot of that quarterback run, the stuff that we saw on Saturday. We saw it last year more out of Alabama. They really leaned on their running backs most of the 2024 season. So they made some adjustments and came with that package. But LSU did a nice job of handling the running backs. They again do a poor job of, I think, being patient, holding their responsibility, and filling their gaps. And there were so many times the Star and Burns, the safeties in particular, and Gilbert and Ryan, didn't do a great job of getting off of blocks, playing responsibility, really, really poor angles. I mean, you going into it how fast Milrose is. You saw him a year ago, and you know how special he could be. And I just thought the secondary level of run support was really poor overall.
Is there anything new? There any new wrinkle that we could see from this defense? I mean, it's getting late early out here. We're deep in November, but is there anything we haven't seen?
No, I don't know what you kind of are who you are, and you've settled in on your personnel on the defensive side of the football. And I think, what you do really good is you're aggressive, you blitz, and you get after quarterbacks that are not particularly mobile. I mean, they sack Dart as many times as, they were able to get after Dart. And I think I go in with that same mindset that we're gonna treat more today with Lagway. He's no way he's 100% with that hamstring. We're gonna kind of get after him as a pocket quarterback. I want to test him accordingly.
We're going to flip sides of the ball. We'll talk about the LSU offense against the Gator defense when we return here at Rouse's. Get all of your pregame stuff here at Rouse's. Huge selection of wine, spirits, and beer here on the left side. We're next to the bakery and the deli. Well, of course, on the other side, you can get all of your tailgating supplies whenever you're coming out to Tiger Stadium. We've got 2 more home games left here on the right side here at Rouse's, and always plenty of ice for your tailgating at Rouse's Burbank at Lee. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Protect your home with dependable roof repair and service. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day Skull Session Offense. Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you. Now from the LSU Sports Radio Network, here's Gordy Rush.
Here are the Bears countdown to kickoff. 4 hours and 40 minutes as we're watching Game Day from Athens for Georgia and Tennessee. A big game tonight in the Southeastern Conference. Gordy Rush is in Gainesville, Florida. Gordy, let's start on the offensive side with Garrett Nussmeier. 5 interceptions in the last 2 games. There's been some bad decisions. There's been some bad throws. I don't know that he'll ever lack for confidence. He's just not that. He's just not wired that way. But honing it in, let's start with where you go with Nussmeier today. Well, I thought he was there.
I thought he was too. Okay. Hold tight.
If you would.
There we go, Charlie. You got me?
There we go.
Yeah, there he is.
He's back.
Yeah, it'd be helping to get the mute button off.
Yeah.
I think, look, here's the thing with Garrett Nussmeier. He's a gunslinger. You let him throw the football. And I think that's his mentality. And I think, judging from doing the coach's show with Coach Kelly, I think they're going to simplify things, maybe just they're over-processing, too much thinking. You know, we talked a little bit, if you didn't hear a segment about the in-helmet communication, and he's kind of against it. And I'm reading between the lines thinking, they got too much in his head. I mean, they're trying to get into the perfect play. They're doing the check with me, and then they're going to audible when the defense checks. I wouldn't be surprised we see a little bit more just from the line of scrimmage and cut it loose. Look, I think it's really unique. We're talking about Austin Armstrong's the defensive coordinator from Florida. He's a really aggressive guy by nature. And what's happened, they've been crushed by injuries. They've lost their best linebacker. They've lost 3 of their top 4 players in the secondary. Last week, Ewers from Texas absolutely shed this defense apart. I think it's 35-42-0 at halftime. And so it's a perfect matchup. You can't bring a lot of pressure packages if you can't cover on the back end. So he's had to adjust as these injuries have kind of piled up a little bit. So I think it's a good matchup for Nussmeier. And, again, the key, they had 125 yards rushing a week ago. It didn't feel like it. And, of course, they got behind, and then they got one-dimensional in the second half. You want to achieve balance, but I think this is a game where Nussmeier can rebuild his confidence against a wounded Florida defense.
I'm with you there, Gordy. And the other thing is, this is the 10th play-in date, okay? I'm skeptical that, look, a running game. I mean, it's just not going to appear from out of midair. So what I want to ask you is more about the usage of Caden Durham, who you can use as a receiver. We've got all these fancy stats available to us now. You can get the breakdowns of how many plays everybody was in on without going and watch the whole film. You just look up the Pro Football Focus stuff, and everybody says, wait a minute, Durham was only in on 20 plays last week, and he's one of your most explosive players. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, I am. You want to get him in spaces. And, again, I like Xavier Thomas, and they got the ball at him twice on a reverse and something what we call an orbit motion where you loop around and you come back on a counter. Look, I think it all leads to this. It's creativity. I thought LSU got very trendy against Texas A&M. They kind of knew what was coming at them. They didn't move Nussmeier around. Not a lot of imagination in the run game. You're going to have to, do a little bit more of that. And I think you need to run just enough to keep them honest, because what's happened in the second half of the Texas A&M game and the second half of the Alabama game, teams are putting 6 people at the line of scrimmage in the gaps. The linebacker's got the running back, and if the running back stays in the block because they're blitzing, then the 7th defender comes. They're rushing 7 and playing a soft cover 0, and we're just not able to execute. We're not getting separation from the wide receivers, and until they beat you, right?
Yeah.
Until they beat you, or you can show that you're perfect with the football and not turn it over, then they're going to continue to do that. And Mike Elko said it in his post-game press conference. He said, you know what? Nussmeier can throw for 400 yards, but we made him one-dimensional, and we're going to get 3 or 4 of those balls. And that's the same thing Alabama did. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that Florida has the Jims and Joes on the back end to do that, but you got to do something different, and you can't just be one-dimensional. You get one-dimensional, and it gets really risky.
Yeah, and I would use the word predictable. I was kind of taken aback by Kalen DeBoer's post-game comment. It kind of got buried, but he said, there were a lot of times where, we could kind of predict where Nussmeier was going to go with the football. There was another play that Durham breaks the 45-yard stretch play at the beginning of the game. Mm-hmm. Well, LSU comes back to run pretty much that exact same play at the end of the first quarter. We had this in film study where it's the same play except they don't run the short motion with the tight end. They come up to the line of scrimmage, and there are 4 Alabama defenders, 4 of them, pointing right there where he's going. And it's like, hang on. Yeah. They know what's coming. Now, LSU still made yards on the play, but point being, they can't be as predictable as they have been the last 2 weeks.
No doubt. I mean, you've got to. It's okay. You got to be able to run them into different things, out of different formations. And what happened was that Alabama, the first time that they showed that 6 men in the line of scrimmage, they put 6 people in the box. The check was to the outside stretch play, and the one that he hit for 45, they were able to. Mason Taylor was able to get to the linebacker. Jones was able to hook his guy. All the receivers got good stalk blocks out there, and they were able to get to it. And you mentioned next time they lined up with that, you go with the same check. And so I don't, we don't have enough time to do all the tendencies. I'm not in those meeting rooms. But, yeah, you get the feeling, reading between the lines on all these coaches, that LSU's gotten very predictable in what they're doing. And so you're going to have to show them some different looks, or at least get some of the plays you do well out of different formations.
Gordy, how does this all play into the red zone struggles? I mean, we've been talking about red zone struggles for this team since week number 1. And obviously, look, I know you need to have a running game in the red zone to really be successful. But we've established here already that a run game's just not going to walk through the door. What can they do differently to hopefully lead to more success down in the red area?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that to me, what was disappointing, I look back at that first series, right? And they tried to I thought it was a complicated route trying to get Trudez Green to the back corner. And they thought they had man. It was zone, and Green didn't realize what he was looking at. And he should have cut that route off, and it was just a kind of a freshman moment, if you will. What I hated was the second down call. Second down especially, I don't have the tendencies in front of me. It seems more times than not that's when LSU's trying to run the football. They ran into an 8-man front, and pre-snap, if I'm in the box, and as much check with me as LSU's doing, I got Kyron Lacey man-to-man at the offensive left side. And you've got a quarterback in Nussmeier, high football IQ. He's been around the program a little bit. We got to be on the same page. You're going to put 8 in the box. I'm not going to run into 8 in the box. I got man out there. We're going to check and throw the slant. I mean, you throw the slant or the fade or the fade stop, whatever it is. So they just it got to be able to do a better job of executing down there. And then on the third down on that first play, Lacey, it really wasn't a well-run route. He could have pushed his defender. It was a comeback. It's a goal strike. He just went and turned around. The defensive back's on his back. He drops the football. It's the little things like that. Give me 3 steps in the end zone, come back down to the goal stripe, and just execute the plays. It's a matter, I think, of execution a little bit, and just, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what our red zone package looks like. This is what our goal line package looks like, and it looks kind of bumpy, as the best I don't know, bumpy. It just couple plays cluttered together, and it just doesn't look smooth.
Gordy, before we let you go, I want to ask you about Billy Napier. A few weeks ago, he was kind of dead man walking. Coming into this season, you knew it was going to be a struggle. The schedule was brutal. The recruiting has not been up to par. And Scott Strickland gave him a vote of not just a vote of confidence. Vote of confidence is the worst thing. He said he will be back next year. I wonder if that would be the case if Florida had a full-time president right now. Their president, I'm trying to remember his name. I think it was Ben Sassy. During the summer, resigned because of his wife had declining health, and they went back to an interim president. I wonder if they had a full-time president, if they might not have made a move. They've had problems with both their basketball coaches recently, the men's coach just in the last couple of weeks, the women's coach they had to dismiss a couple of years ago, so they've had other problems there. I wonder if they're just kicking the can down the road here a little bit. But you tell me what kind of footing Napier's on right now, in your opinion.
Well, I think Lonnie Strickland's here, and Strickland had no choice. It's his guy. He's got to back him. And we know what Strickland's history has been here. But talking to people down here, they say, oh, by the way, we don't have a new president here. And so, is it possible a new president could come in here and start with the athletic director? Yeah, I think there is. The flip side of it is, after watching the film on Lagway, right, and they've got an outstanding tailback with him, Ball, that's a freshman from Alabama, from Georgia, I should say, from Atlanta, Georgia, number 13. I think that the kind of the hope of this Florida program is all around Lagway, and I think the feeling here is that if Napier's gone, then he's gone. He could hit the transfer portal and what have you. So I think under the circumstances, you don't have a president here. You do not want Lagway is going to be special, Charles. I mean, for me to go through and watch 20 minutes of high school film against good teams, right? And he's playing Woodlands, and his school's up in that Conroe area, and there was some good football that they played in. I mean, he is a dual-threat quarterback. He is not Milroe, but he is the best throwing quarterback that I've seen if I was to put Sellers, Reed, and a lot of the current ones in here. I mean, really, really skilled, has a lot of composure, and I think for all of the above here, I want to make sure that Lagway stays. It was the toughest schedule in America. Here's the guy who's got a chance to – he needs to win 2 or 3 to get to a bowl game, right? Figure they're going to win at Florida State, and their best chance of getting they're going to be a less of an underdog against LSU this week than against Ole Miss next week, right? They've got LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State. I don't think it's the wrong move. That being said, new president can come in here and change everything.
Gordy, have a great call and a safe trip back. We'll talk to you next week when LSU takes on Vandy.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
We're brought to you by Supreme Rice. You can get Supreme Rice here at Rouse's. The new parboiled rice, closest thing you're going to come to restaurant quality rice at home, clean. And you know what? You're going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers when you get the Supreme Rice product. Down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. It's all grilled and processed down grown, milled, and processed down in Southwest Louisiana. So whether you're getting the new parboiled rice and the holidays are coming up, get a rice at your house at Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, more than a little bit. So whatever dish you're preparing, make it with Supreme Rice. You're going to get more bang for your buck as well. So get it here at Rouse's. Anywhere you buy rice, make it Supreme Rice. They're also part of the Climate Smart program, which means that they are talking about reducing methane emissions. They're talking about promoting water conservation. These are things that will preserve our environment for the next generation of Louisiana rice farmers. So pick up Supreme Rice, and for more information and for great recipes, go to the website at supremerice.com. We'll take a break. We'll set the stage in college football today when we return here at Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Autorlocks, presented by William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. For auto, home, life insurance in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas, William Crane Allstate Insurance Agency. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
Here at Rouse's, corner of Burbank and Lee. Come by and get all of you. If you're cooking for the game, you need some supplies, get on over here to Rouse's. And believe me, they're going to have what you need. Jimmy, good morning. How are you?
Oh, how about boy Henry, a nail in the field goal for $800,000 on game day, huh?
Oh, wow.
I mean,
First try.
it, baby.
How much did he? How much did
800.
800.
$400,000 to hurricane relief, $400,000 for Henry.
Wow.
And with about 15 yards to spare, split the middle.
Nice.
Crushed it.
You're going to find out this guy was an all-district kicker somewhere.
Absolutely. All-state soccer player.
Yeah, but you know, my son's on that DAD scholarship. He's in Athens right now. He failed to make it to game day to try and get the kick. He was in Baton Rouge last week. He failed to make it to game day and get the kick. But again, Charlie, you know, good living if you can find it. Huh?
Just, you know, such a disappointment that he couldn't put himself in better position to make plays. That's all we ask. You put players in position to make plays. That's it.
You can't get off the island by walking, baby. You got to swing.
That's it.
Swing, EJ. Come on.
That's it. Jimmy, I find myself, you know, looking at today's card, it's a lot of places where we're just seeing if big favorites stub their toe in games that they need to win, but maybe look ahead spots. You know, we're talking about Ohio State. We're talking about Colorado, maybe at Texas. You know, there's a number. Notre Dame is another one. You know, Virginia's not good, but they're a little bit scrappy. SMU hasn't been in this situation a long time, where they're favored to, you know, make a championship game of any kind. And all of that before we get to Tennessee and Georgia. But big favorites that are vulnerable today. Anybody that you got your eye on?
Well, I mean, I think it happens. I'm looking for teams with new pressure, you know, like SMU, like Colorado. I think it happened to Iowa State. That's one of my picks today because I think they've gotten that pressure off of them. And it wasn't just with the 2 losses, but they should have lost another game where against Central Florida. So, that's one of the things. Of course, when we're back in the summer, our conversations, we're looking at the schedule. Of course, it's a look-ahead spot for Ohio State. Of course, they're looking ahead to Indiana. Anybody could have seen that. So, I mean, it's just, that's what I want to see, Charlie. These teams all of a sudden that are in position now. I want to see how Tulane performs today. Everybody's got their road favorite against Navy. So that's the thing. And also, is there a little bit of complacency? Is Oregon feels like they have a cushion, maybe a game to give, a tricky spot in Wisconsin. So Boise State, now they're talking about they got a chance to get a bye. Will they take care of it? San Jose State, Coach K, the old Navy coach, he's got his team playing. So, yeah, I think that's a legitimate. I mean, you know how it is, Charlie. You look at this, I'm like, no, they're coming somewhere, somehow. And look, 5 unranked teams beat the top 10 teams last year, the whole season. We got 10 already this year. So I was completely wrong when I thought that this, our favorite sport is just going to have less parity. I mean, now it's the programs with the fancy facilities and the best recruiting budgets, and the higher budgets. Now they got the best payroll as well. It's only going to separate, and it's just going the opposite way. So I think it's been a lot of fun. It's all kind of, and then you throw in the expanded playoff. There's so many things. LSU's still alive. I mean, really? I mean, it's hard for me to realize that, after watching that last Saturday night. But it's fun. It's good for the sport. What's not is something that Herb Street alluded to today on game day when they pulled out the bracket. Said and Saban finally said it. What is Texas done? They played one team and they got killed. I mean, why? They're just looking at the loss column, and people are, and Herbie said, talking to coaches, talking to ADs, I'm not scheduling anybody anymore. So that's the big concern. So the selection committee's got to do a better job, have some guts, take a team that really had a tough schedule, like a Georgia, and put them ahead of a team that did not have a tough schedule.
And when we looked at that bracket, the first thing that jumped out at me, and it's not like I don't know it, but when you see it up there, the buys for BYU and Miami and the teams behind them that we are absolutely certain as we can be, that are better than them, that are not going to get a bye, maybe not even get a home game. I think that's going to really startle some people when it actually. Now that's not going to hold, but somebody out of the Big 12 is going to get a bye. Somebody out of the ACC is going to get a bye, and we're just not sure that they're as good as the second tier teams in the SEC and the Big 10.
I mean, how many SEC teams are better than Miami?
Six right off the top of my head. Without even really trying. I do want to go back and circle back to one of those games you were talking about, and that was Oregon. And if I'd have thought about it and I wouldn't have been in such a sickly state yesterday, I would have put this in my 5-pack, and I didn't. But this is 8 games in a row for Oregon. And this is the 3rd trip halfway across the country in 5 weeks. Wisconsin's coming off a bye. And they're not playing well. They lost their last 2, but they're coming off a bye. It's still a great place to watch a college football game at Camp Randall. I don't know that they're going to lose, but are they in a little bit of a vulnerable spot here, given we talk about it situational? Are they in a little bit of a vulnerable spot to not cover today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's just, that's fine. I wonder about their mindset. When you because they obviously have some wiggle room, a cushion. So, are they going to be, are they going to have that killer instinct? That was one of my favorite Saban lines, too. He's like, we got all these wild games. I mean, I know one thing. Those guys from Miami, and that's when the U was rolling, when they're up 20, they're trying to get up 40. I mean, they're trying to kill you. So I think Oregon, what's funny, too, Charlie, what I was thinking about with Oregon, what would Oklahoma's season be like with Dylan Gabriel this year? It'd be better, but just, I understand he might not have the supporting cast this year, and they've had some injuries, but man, be careful what you ask for, kind of nudging that guy out the door for their big unproven recruit. So, no, I think, Gabriel's got a shot. I think it's everybody's fighting for second. That's the biggest line movement of the day. That thing has moved from 10 to 13.5 this morning with Colorado. One of the teams we talked about as well. And look, it's a tough spot for Utah. That was their season. That was their. They had bigger goals. They're gone. They're out the window. We know about Cam Rising and the injury. It was ugly in Tempe, the last game he played before he finally called it quits for the season. But they left it on the field last week, and so that's going to be a tough spot for Colorado. And all of a sudden, it's Colorado. This is unbelievable, and they've become more of a complete team. They are not great defense, but they're adequate. They're adequate, and that's given them a much better chance at this season this year. And I just don't see how you're going to keep this guy who's doing some historical things, up in Boulder, not to get the Heisman this year.
Hey, that thing you said about, hoping that an experienced quarterback leaves for the highly heralded recruit, say that loud for the people in the back so that they can hear it here in Baton Rouge. Say it very loud so nobody misunderstands.
Hey, listen, you got to go back and check Joe Burrow's first year at LSU, okay? That second year starting man, it happens a lot. It happens a lot. And, look, man, we were running him 30 times in College Station because we trusted his legs more than his arm. Think about that. That's where he was in the last game of the regular season, the first game. Nussmeier's got talent, man. He needs some seasoning. He needs to play, and he'll get better. He needs an off-season again. So, yes, I think that would be a – now, look, Michigan's got a little pressure with their season. They're coming with all some loaded guns, after the big recruit. But that would be the perfect situation to kind of ease him in, play him in reserve.
It'd be perfect.
Spot. That's the ideal. Let him get familiar with campus, learn where the buildings are, his classes are, and things like that. Instead of just throwing him in there, we just want to throw. It's happening in the pros. It's happening in the college. But look, but Nussmeier, I think, he's done a lot of good things this year as well. He's going on a rough spot right now. You watch the film. He did not make some great decisions. And that's the only thing that puzzles me with him, Charlie. I don't see a coach's son kind of playing. He's a gunslinger and coach's son. That doesn't usually happen. So, and you can clean those things up with time and with reps.
All right, let's talk about the big one tonight, Tennessee and Georgia. This line has slipped down. It is now Georgia -9. Been a long time since the Bulldogs have had a big game like this at home. Over a year since they faced a top 10 team in Athens. Night game. Cue that Lane Kiffin soundbite. It's going to be lit in Athens. This is the biggest test by far of the year for Tennessee. What do you think?
Well, I think about what Lane Kiffin said after their game, though. Maybe we wouldn't have played like this if we had won some of those earlier games and that we had a cushion. We know. And that's when I'm talking about the Oregon thing as well. This is something that people are thinking about. The teams are thinking about. And he said, and now Georgia's in that spot. They have to win. So they're out right now. You watch on game. That place is hungry. Where have they been they haven't had a whole lot of hungry spots in their recent golden years of Georgia football. I think Tennessee's going into a hornet's nest tonight. Nico's been cleared. He's going to play, but he has not played well. He's another one. Needs some seasoning. But, he's got all the ability in the world. But one game, over 200 yards passing, that's Kentucky. He has struggled this year. And so who would have known that a Josh Heupel team, the clear strength, is their defense. Their defense can keep them hanging around, but I don't think it's going to be. I could see like 27-6, 27-10. I think the under in Georgia, I think Tennessee's going to have all kinds of problems scoring tonight in Athens.
All right, Jimmy, tell us who's bringing us Otter Locks.
Our friends over at William Crane and Allstate Insurance Agents. Come with the good hands, people, at William Crane, Allstate. Are you one of the many homeowners insurance where your homeowners insurance is going up out the roof? Call William Crane, 421-3133. Ask for the Jimmy Ott special for your homeowners. Allstate is committed to providing reasonable homeowners rates where so many other companies' rates have skyrocketed. Bundle your homeowners and auto or even better rates. William Crane, Allstate Insurance, 421-3133. You been feeling better, big boy?
Yeah, needed the day. needed the day. So, been a minute since I had a day. So, yeah, feel great. Looking forward to football Sunday tomorrow. We'll see you at 10 a.m.
All right. Me and Mahoney waiting on you. Look at that plus 300 Jake Paul decision bet last night. Good job,
great.
Matt.
Yeah, my money was on Father Time. Appreciate it, Jimmy. Thanks a lot.
All right, see you.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. Our scouting report with Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl is next from Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1. WDGL and HC1 Baton Rouge.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Brack teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
.1 Eagle 98.1 Game Day Scouting Report, presented by Demco, providing safe, reliable, and competitively priced energy services to co-op members since 1938.
Back in Eagle 98.1 Game Day, live from the Rouses on Burbank and Lee. LSU, Florida, 2:30 kickoff from the Swamp down there in Gainesville. Let's get a closer look at the Gators. We'll welcome in Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, for our Scouting Report segment. Jim, we appreciate the time as always. Welcome back for another week. How are you?
I'm doing great, Matt. Good to be back on.
Absolutely. LSU, Florida, big rivalry, has been dominated by the Tigers as of late. And, man, when you look at Florida this season, not a lot to celebrate on the field, but a lot of tough luck as well with the injuries. I mean, just going down the injury report the last few weeks for Florida, it's new guy popping up after new guy. Let's talk about some of the guys that are there and are healthy. And we'll start on the defensive line. I want to get your thoughts on Caleb Banks. I know somebody that's very well on the radar of the Senior Bowl so far this year.
Yeah, like you said, it's been a tough year for Billy Napier. The quarterback, Graham Mertz, was playing well.
Yeah.
When he got hurt, unfortunately. I mean, he was playing his way into being a solidly draftable kind of mid-round type of quarterback. So that was a big blow. Caleb Banks, there's a couple, and I know you'll probably hit me with another defensive line name here too. But Caleb Banks is one of those guys that scouts say don't grow on trees. And LSU's had some guys like this in the past. They have a rich history of guys like this, but he's just he's a big human being. He's big, he's long, he's got a big frame. He's hard to move, and he's athletic enough to rush the passer. Like, his best football's way ahead of him. I would think that he is draft eligible for this year. If he comes out, most guys like this don't get out of the third round, kind of don't get out of that day two area. But I think he's going to be a guy that Florida's going to try to get back in school. But he's a good one, man. He's a good one. For as much as they've struggled at times, Banks and another guy you'll probably ask me about if are good pro prospects.
Yeah, the other guy is Cam Jackson, also on the defensive line. And, I mean, look, like you said, they've struggled at times. It's been, you're searching for the silver lining, the light at the end of the tunnel for Florida. Banks, we just talked about it, and Cam Jackson certainly seemed to present that.
Yeah, Banks has more pass rush, and that's why he would probably go a little higher. Cam Jackson, though, is another guy that, just doesn't grow on trees. He's a huge human being. He's 360 pounds. You can't move him off the ball. He's kind of your classic nose tackle that can two gap and eat up blocks and keep your linebackers free. He looks like a starting NFL nose tackle when he's really, juiced up and into playing. It kind of goes in spurts, but again, in 5 years from now, if you're watching an NFL game and you see Cam Jackson starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, don't be surprised. He has that kind of talent.
It's a name that people around here should be familiar with as well. He's out of Haynesville here in Louisiana. Another name that people are definitely familiar with is Montrell Johnson out of New Orleans. He's been injured, but, man, when he's healthy, he's their best option at running back. Been practicing, officially designated questionable, as we head into the game on Saturday. But kind of what does he bring back to Florida's offense if he is able to go, and kind of what, in the same vein, would they be missing if he's not there?
Yeah, they're missing a lot if he's not there. Billy had this guy down there with the Raging Cajuns. He's a good back. I feel like he's been there a long time. I feel like we've been watching Florida tape with Montrell Johnson for a long time. What he gives them is a physical presence in the backfield. And again, where they're at with the quarterback situation, I don't know if Lagway is going to play or not, or they're going to be down to their third guy again. But, you don't want to put a ton on either of those guys, right? Lagway hasn't played a lot of football either. You want to be able to line up and run the football and kind of control the clock. And LSU is just so much more explosive on offense. You want to keep those guys sitting on the bench. So that will be big. Whether he can play tonight or not will be big for Florida. I mean, he does give them that guy that can pound between the tackles and get tough yards and occasionally break one. He's a good back, man. He's a good runner. So he'll be a key for Florida if he can play.
You mentioned LSU's explosive offense, and I kind of want to touch on that while we have a little bit of time here, Jim. We talked about a lot of the LSU players earlier in the year throughout the non-conference, but here late in the season, we always kind of like to circle back. And Garrett Nussmeier was somebody we talked about earlier, and obviously he's somebody that's come under the microscope here the last 6 quarters for LSU with that turnover bug kind of rearing its ugly head. What have you seen from Nussmeier on tape maybe that differs in the last 6 quarters from earlier in the season when he was off to such a hot start?
Yeah, he's played a couple really good defenses. I'll say that. He got him the win against Ole Miss against a really good defensive front. I think we all saw what Ole Miss did to Georgia last week. That's their front four is 4 guys that are going to be playing in the National Football League next year. But you're talking about the turnovers. I think we've seen him be confused. Mike Elko is one of the best defensive coordinators in college football, and I get that he's the head coach now, but I can promise you he's got some influence on what they're doing scheme-wise at Texas A&M. So, like a couple of those interceptions in that game, I just think they showed a couple of coverage looks that Garrett probably hasn't seen. So I think a lot of it just stems from his inexperience. And, I think that's where, when you talk about Garrett Nussmeier, the pro prospect, is that's the conversation. Does he come out in this year's draft as a guy that doesn't have a lot of starts? Or, does he go back for another year to Baton Rouge, which I know all the Tigers fans hope, and really build on that? I think if he comes out in the draft, he's going to be one of the higher quarterbacks taken. But if he goes back, I just think another year of experience and seeing more things and, it can only benefit him. I think you're just seeing a lack of experience right now kind of rear its ugly head.
So that's what I was going to ask you is, like, how much can 6 quarters deem a player in the draft? Like, how impactful would that be to a draft stock of not just Garrett Nussmeier, but, him as the example, but any player?
Yeah, you look at this quarterback class. They've all had their rough patches over the course of the year. Milrose had some rough patches. Quinn Ewers has had some rough patches. Carson Beck certainly has. He's turned it over more now this year than he did last year. It can affect him, especially in big games. The game, these big stage games where you're playing good teams. Those are the games that the NFL scouts are really going to dig into. So, the nice thing is for Garrett, he's got that extra year if he wants to use it. And if you look around the NFL right now, look at the young quarterbacks that are playing well. Your guy Jaden Daniels is playing great for the Commanders. He started a ton of games in college. Bo Nix is playing really well for the Denver Broncos right now. Almost got a win in Arrowhead last week against the Chiefs. If they don't miss a field goal at the end, Bo's playing great, and everyone knows he started 60 college games. So I think more college games the better. But Garrett's going to make a smart decision. We all know his dad's a coach in the NFL and longtime college coach, and so they're going to sit down and make that decision. But again, I don't think it can ever hurt a guy going back to school for another year.
Should LSU fans be worried about Garrett Nussmeier with what they're seeing?
No, I wouldn't. No, the guy's super talented. I'm telling you, I've seen all these quarterbacks. This guy, when he's not turning the ball over, he does some things. He makes throws that not many guys in the NFL can make. And he's got really good feel in the pocket. There's a lot to like. I like the gunslinger part because I don't think you can coach that into a guy. And I think at some point in the NFL, when you're an NFL quarterback, you have to have some. I'm trying to be polite. You got to have some courage. I guess I'll phrase it that way.
Yeah.
You need to have some courage, and that's much easier to coach out of a guy some of that than coach into a guy. So he's got it. But I don't even think some of the interceptions he's making right now are like risky throws. I just think they're confused throws. So, and I think there's a difference. So I don't think there's a reason to push the panic button. I think the more Garrett plays and the more Garrett sees, the better he's going to get. I think a lot of these issues are going to go away. And again, if he comes back next year, I think you're going to see a guy that just continues to improve.
Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, with us every week here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, scouting the competition and giving you a little insight on LSU as well. You can follow him on Twitter, X, at @JimNagy_SB. Jim, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you, and we'll do it again next week.
Okay, Matt. Thanks.
Absolutely. That is Jim Nagy, again, of the Reese's Senior Bowl. We'll grab a break, come back on the other side, continue to count you down. LSU, Florida from the Swamp. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs.
98.1. The Alumni Hall College Football Scoreboard. Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tigers shopping destination.
Obviously, nothing started yet, so we're going to set the slate for you today in college football. And when you think about college football, what venue do you think about more than any other, Musa? What is the number one venue in college football?
Tiger Stadium.
Wrigley Field is where we start today. Ohio State is taking on Northwestern at Wrigley Field. And trying not to look, words I never thought I'd say on the scoreboard. Ohio State trying not to look ahead to Indiana. Okay. Northwestern, a 4-touchdown underdog there. Number 3, Texas is at Arkansas today. Utah at number 17, Colorado. Buffaloes have the inside track to the Big 12 championship game, which means they control their own destiny. They've got a tricky game next week with Kansas State, but they catch Utah at a good time, coming off that emotional loss at the in the Holy War against BYU. Controversial call at the end. AD goes crazy, gets fined, the whole deal. Colorado about a 2-touchdown choice in Boulder at 11 o'clock. Number 20, Clemson is at Pittsburgh, a pair of 7-2 teams reeling of late. Number 25, Tulane, trying to stay perfect in the American. They're at Navy today. Tulane hoping for some magic somewhere else. If they can stay unbeaten in the American and win the conference, then they've got an outside shot at the playoff. They're going to need Boise to lose somewhere, which is not likely. But got to keep pace today against a very good Navy team that bounced back last week against South Florida. Other 11 o'clock games, Liberty is at UMass, Louisiana Tech's at Western Kentucky. 11:45 start on the SEC network for UL Monroe and Auburn. Auburn's hopes of making the postseason are dim, to say the least, but they got to win today to at least keep those hopes alive. Coastal Carolina, a noon kick at Marshall. 12:30. You remember when Kentucky beat Ole Miss at the end of September?
I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah, they hadn't won since. That was at the end of September. They'll get a win. They'll get a win today against 1-9 Murray State. 1 o'clock kickoff in Tuscaloosa for Mercer and number 10 Alabama. Mercer's 9-1. If anybody cares, I don't think anybody does, but I just thought I'd mention it. Florida International is at Jacksonville State. Florida Atlantic is at Temple. 1:30 kick for Michigan State at Illinois. 2 o'clock kick in the traditional ACC matchup between Syracuse and Cal out in Berkeley. Is that joke getting old?
No, I mean that's.
I feel like I'm gonna retire it after this year, but I feel like maybe I'm using it a little bit too much.
No. I mean, you can't tell the story of college football without going into the Syracuse-Cal rivalry.
I'm going to try to pick my spots a little bit better. Sam Houston is at Kennesaw State. Hawaii is at Utah State. 2:30 kickoff for number 4 Penn State at Purdue. Penn State gets the they're the Texas of the Big Ten, with one exception. The one game that they played against somebody good was actually close. The one that Texas didn't was not.
Almost got Texas got doubled up.
Notre Dame with Virginia today, 2:30 at Notre Dame. Virginia's not good, but they're a little bit pesky. I'm not saying upset alert, but keep an eye on the Cavs.
You mentioned a look-ahead spot. You never thought you'd say Ohio State, Indiana. How about Notre Dame potentially looking ahead to Army? You ever think you'd say that one?
No, very good. Not since the 50s, anyway.
When
I wasn't around. Number 14, SMU hosts Boston College today. Ponies are perfect in the ACC. They're 5-0. They got a very manageable schedule down the stretch. Their last 3 games, they'll be big double-digit favorites in all 3 to get them to the ACC championship game. Number 19, Louisville is at Stanford. See, I won't do my joke there. Oregon State's at Air Force at 2:30. South Florida's at Charlotte. 3 o'clock kick at the Mausoleum. Nebraska is taking on USC. Couple of notes in this game. Jaden Maivia is going to start at quarterback for USC in place of Miller Moss. If you remember him, he was the phenom. He had a really good freshman year at UNLV last year and decided to transfer. And for Nebraska, guess who's calling the plays today? They changed offensive play callers. This was a under-the-radar story 2 weeks ago. Even I missed it until they named him. He came in as a consultant 2 weeks ago, and they named him the play caller for the rest of the year. Our old buddy Dana Holgerson calling plays for the Huskers today. So we'll see.
All right, Dana.
Little note. Baylor is at West Virginia. 3 o'clock kick in Morgantown. Dave Aranda's group has won 3 in a row. They can get bowl eligible with a win today. Troy is at Georgia Southern. James Madison is at Old Dominion. 3:15 kick on the SEC Network. Number 23 Missouri is at number 21 South Carolina. Gamecocks are a scary team right now.
They are.
Last month, they have just beat the stew out of everybody.
They have a vibe around them right now, man.
It's 2 teams, I think, that are running into a buzzsaw today. Missouri's one, Tennessee's the other one, but we'll see. 4 o'clock kick for Arkansas State at Georgia State. 5 o'clock kick for Rutgers at Maryland. 6 o'clock kick, Boise State on the road for a game against San Jose State, who is 6-3. Boise is obviously got the inside track on the Group of 5 spot in the playoffs. Pair of 7-2 teams at the Little Apple at 6 o'clock as Arizona State travels to number 16 Kansas State. How about Matt McMahon's group going in on Thursday night? I wish I'd have been well enough to watch more of it, but the defensive performance by the basketball Tigers.
I mean,
really
they
nice.
Smothered Kansas State for 40 minutes. It was beautiful.
I want to go back and watch the whole thing because Thursday night I was sick. Let me tell you. South Alabama is at UL Lafayette at 6 o'clock. Cajuns trying to stay unbeaten in the Fun Belt. They are 5-0. They're 8-1 overall. Only a 1-touchdown loss at home to Tulane keeps them from being unblemished, and also with an outside shot at the Group of 5 spot in the playoff. They keep winning. Southern Miss is at Texas State. 6:30 kickoff for number 1 Oregon at Wisconsin. We talked about this with Jimmy. This is Oregon's 8th straight game. Wisconsin is coming off of a bye. Oregon's got a game to play with in the Big Ten. Now, I'm not telling you Wisconsin's going to win. They've lost their last 2 before the bye, but it's Camp Randall. It's at night. The situation is favorable to Wisconsin to at least keep this thing interesting. 6:30 kickoff, the big one from Athens. Number 7 Tennessee is at number 12 Georgia. Nico
Iamaleava,
thank you, is going to play in this game. Travis Etienne is not. Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne is not. He has been ruled out of this game. Georgia a 9-point favorite there. Georgia got to have this. Okay, they do not have a game to play with.
Not anymore.
The big the big talk. If the playoffs started today, Georgia wouldn't be in it. Well, the playoff doesn't start today, but if they lose another one, then you can hang it up. That's going to be the end of it.
It would be. This is just going to be fascinating to see if. I mean, everyone's expecting a defensive battle. Tennessee hadn't given up 20 points all season.
Yeah.
Georgia's offense has looked like.
Well, Beck's going to throw you a couple.
For sure. 100% he's going to throw you a couple.
He does that. I think Georgia comes with a big effort tonight. Unlike LSU, who's actually got some tiebreakers in their favor, Georgia doesn't. So
absurd.
No kidding. 6:45 on the SEC Network. New Mexico State's at number 15, Texas A&M. 7 o'clock kick for Wake Forest at North Carolina. Cincinnati's at Iowa State. UAB's at Memphis. 8:30 kickoff for number 18, Washington State at New Mexico. Quick, without looking, what's Washington State's record?
They only have 1 loss. They're 8-1.
8-1. Very good. 9:15 kickoff. Kansas is at number 6, BYU. For information purposes only, Kansas has led in the fourth quarter of every game this year. They've only won 3 out of the 9, but they have led in the fourth quarter of every game this year. BYU is coming off of about as emotional rivalry game. Keep you undefeated, keep you in the playoff, keep you with a bye, keep you in first place in the Big 12, and now they get Kansas, who has, say it with me, led in the fourth quarter of every game this year. Information purposes only. Kansas plus 2.5. And San Diego State is at UNLV at 9:30 tonight. That game is at Allegiant Stadium, and that is your college football scoreboard. Our LeBears countdown to kickoff is 3 hours and 45 minutes. We're here at Rouse's, your pregame destination for all of your tailgating at home today needs for LSU and Florida. Shea Dixon is next. We are not paying him $10.5 million to do the segment, but he's going to be with us anyway. That's next, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Brandon Holly here. Siding, windows, even doors. ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1, WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shea Dixon of On3 Sports. Presented by Ralph's Market. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
Countdown to kickoff, a little under 3 hours and 45 minutes. We bring in Shea Dixon from On3. Shea, I got some bad news to start off today. I talked to Gordy. We're going to have to come in a little under $10.5 million for your services today.
Well, okay. Well, that's fair.
We're going to talk to your agent. We're going to get it worked out, but it's going to be less, okay? So I'm just
I didn't know where that one was going because both my wife and Gordy and some others all went to Epcot yesterday, so I have no idea where you were taking that story.
I got pictures. They found the beer garden at Mexico. Okay, so I got FaceTimed yesterday from Epcot, so I'm aware of the trip. They look like they were having a good time. So
and you see us, they leave us here to work.
I know. It's just it's cruel. Okay, so the $10.5 million for people who have no idea what I'm talking about has been the talk of the recruiting world this week. Shay, Michigan reportedly has a $10.5 million offer to Bryce Underwood. I'm just going to let you take it from here. There's a lot I could say on it, but I'd rather listen to you. So you tell me what you make of the offer and where everything stands here just a few weeks away from signing day.
Yeah, look, gosh, there's so many layers to this. Do I think Bryce sticks with LSU? Yes. I think that if he had interest in going to Michigan, that he would have found a way to not only visit the campus during the Sharon Moore era, but say, hey, look, I've got interest, but how can we make this happen? And we have not seen that ever been the case. And now in the final few weeks before signing day, the Michigan leaks start coming out, and it's, hey, we've made this offer. Well, now we've made a bigger offer. Well, now Connor Stallions works, at his high school for the playoff games, and we're busing Michigan fans to the Belleville games. All these different things are things that you see happening when you're usually behind or not getting a kid, or saying, hey, look, put yourself in their shoes. I mean, we've kind of been there similarly. They won a national championship. They've got an interim head coach in Sharon Moore. They have one of the worst passing offenses in America. And he goes to school, Bryce Underwood, 20-something minutes from Ann Arbor. So when and if Michigan's quarterback struggles continue, people will more and more say, well, what happened to Bryce Underwood? Where were y'all in the Bryce Underwood thing? So I think, yes, do they want Bryce Underwood? Absolutely. But I think this is also a move to say, we've got some NIL money now, and, hey, we tried. If he doesn't want to come here, look, we tried.
I get it. Do you remember the recruitment of Damian James?
That would be before my time.
Okay, then I'm going to tell a story here real quick. Damian James was a phenomenal player, one of the top players in the country out of Karen Crow. A little bit further away from LSU than what Underwood is from. Let's say it's twice as far, but everybody knows where Karen Crow is, okay? And Damian James at one point was committed to Michigan, or at least leaning towards Michigan. There was a recruiting event here in Baton Rouge. James came out to it, and all of a sudden here comes Kevin Falk, and here comes about another half dozen. I remember like it was yesterday. It was at the Hooters on College Drive, and all of a sudden they took him next door to the little pool place, and they talked to him, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to LSU. Because you just don't lose a player that good that's that close to your campus. And LSU's lost some, they've Travis Minor from Catholic High. They've lost other kids, but you do Landon Collins, maybe a more recent example. You do everything. I mean everything. And then if you lose them, you lose them. But I understand why Michigan's pulling out all of these stops. Shay, you tell me the deciding factor. Is it the Joe Sloan relationship? Is it the NFL aspect of this? Michigan's passing game is putrid. They're not going to make a coaching change again this year. Is it getting away from? You tell me. What's the compelling factor here? Assuming that Michigan's got LSU outbid on the money here.
And I think that LSU's going to have this set up to where money is not something that's lacking. You don't get Bryce Underwood without some sort of respectable NIL package, but Bryce has talked about it plenty with development and having receivers. I mean, he looks at Burrow and Daniels and says, look, I've seen the growth they've had. I've seen the growth Nussmeier even had in 1 year of starting. And yes, recently here he's made some mistakes, but still he's not even started a 10th game or just did. And said when those guys went and developed, they became number 1 and 2 picks. And simultaneously they had receivers who were first-round picks. Michigan isn't doing that. They don't have a track record of doing that. I mean, what are we going to go to? Nico Collins, sure, but like Mario Manningham and people like we're going to have to go back pretty far now
And then Jaden's success in the NFL now, I think, certainly helps Bryce kind of get a view of LSU. And you mentioned it. I think people overlook this. The culture, too, I think, is one thing. I think he sees himself as he fits in at LSU more than the Michigan man mentality of Ann Arbor. And growing up in Belleville, I think we've seen it. You high kids, other kids. I mean, some kids just want to go away from home and do something different. And from the start, he said that. He wanted to play in the SEC. He circled LSU. He dialed in on Sloan and everybody. And for 300-plus days, he has not visited a single other campus. That never happens with a number one overall player. So I think that all these leaks, Charlie, notice that they're not coming out of Baton Rouge. It's all coming out of Michigan or all coming out of agents. And I think that LSU, as long as they hold on here, they'll be fine.
I remember I know how Michigan feels. I remember the James commitment like it was yesterday because they had a coach down here. I don't remember his name, but he was on his way to the airport, and this was before everybody in the world had a cell phone, and they got him on the phone, and they're like, hey, your guy's going to LSU. He's like, no, he's not. Yeah, he is. Okay, so I understand what they're doing here. Let me ask you what the Nussmeier factor is. I'm of the opinion, not that anybody cares, but it's my show, so I'm going to give it to you. That Nussmeier coming back would be better for Nussmeier. It'd be better for Underwood. It'd be better for LSU. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Is there a Nussmeier factor here in play where Underwood is concerned?
No, because you've got to remember throughout this whole thing that they're working under a presumption that Nussmeier was going back. I mean, for Nussmeier to go pro, he was going to have to go out and have some sort of and he has. He's thrown for a lot of yards, but incredible year that shoots him up draft boards that it makes sense for him to go. But I go back to Doug Nussmeier's dad. Doug Nussmeier has been an NFL quarterback coach for 20 years. He knows what it takes to get there, to hold a clipboard, to get on the field. And I think a lot of that's playing time. So it's a lot like Nico when he signed with Tennessee, right? You come in year one, they've got a starter, the veteran, you place some behind him, then you take over and you start for a couple of years. And that's kind of my read on how this has always been pitched to Bryce. But look, it'll be an open quarterback competition. We'll see, because Underwood is certainly the real deal. You're not going to just have him on the bench for no reason. A little bit, and maybe this is wrong, it's kind of how I feel on it, a little bit of the Flynn Perilou type thing, right? Like where you got Perilou, he ain't starting, you've got a veteran quarterback, but you're going to put him in there at some point to play some snaps for you.
Yeah, and I think, I read Matt's column earlier this week on LouisianaSports.net about this is more about pro development. Yeah, maybe the Michigan offer tops LSU's, and maybe by not as much as it appears on the surface, but the pro development, the NFL receivers, we've been through all of this. I think it's a point. Doesn't mean everybody's not going to be nervous until December the 4th, but I feel all right about where LSU is. Even better now that you've reassured me, Shea. So if he changes, I'm going to blame you.
Don't do that. Don't do that at all. I'm just now getting past 5 for 5. I'm not involved here. I will say, and Matt's column was right. Like if and I don't know how they broke down the numbers, but if it's 4 years, $10 million, that's 2 point something a year. This is a kid who's going to stay in college 3 years. That's LSU's got a number that's in that range, if not more. But Bryce has said it. If I'm a top 3 pick, that's $33 million. Oh, if I then am developed through college and get to the next level and get in a good spot, what did Joey B turn it into? $270 million or something? So $2 million a year when you've got $33 million waiting for you in 3 years because he's that type of quarterback, you're thinking about where do I go that's going to let me throw the football, run the football, get good receivers, be at a high level, be on TV, and set me up to be a draft pick in the top 3. And LSU's got to, believe it or not, guys, LSU has a very good track record in recent years of quarterbacks somehow turning into Heisman winners, number 1 or 2 draft picks, and making $30 million.
Yep, because Daniels is well on his way to when he gets to that second contract. All right, Shea, let's talk about the rest of the fallout from Alabama weekend and the recruits that were on campus. I know there were a ton.
Yeah, actually, they ended up everyone worried about the class falling apart, and of course, there were no immediate decommitments, so it doesn't happen really. But they added a commitment, Kenny Darby, who's Louisiana's most productive receiver right now. He's a 26 player out of Airline, but he's over 20 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards receiving. Had been committed to Levy and State, and backed off that. LSU had been pushing kind of behind the scenes and got him in for Bama and offered him, and he committed then. And like I said, he committed after the game had ended. So these high school kids don't view it in the same way a lot of LSU fans might. But I'll give you another good example. In the nicest of ways possible, DJ Pickett's father, Damien, who DJs the #1 corner in the country, is committed to Corey Raymond coming out of Florida. They were at the game, and he said, look, it wasn't a great result, but DJ's confident that, his God-given talents will take him to Baton Rouge and allow him to compete to play early. So I think that a kid like that
eloquent. It's really
I'm
eloquent.
starting next year when I get here.
Yeah. I tell it to people all the time. I say, they're going to lose recruits if they lose. I say, no, if they go and they see the team doesn't play well, they go, I can play here soon. Yeah. So I get that. Shay, kind of give us a thumbnail. They've got 2 home games left. The high school teams are all into the playoffs now. So you kind of, and it's the last 2 weeks before signing day. So give us kind of a thumbnail of what LSU wants to accomplish visit-wise and who they're honing in on. I know some names you're going to talk about, but I'll let you do it here in the next 2 weeks.
I mean, it's holding on because you've got 27 commits, right? And look, they've got these schools targeting some of their commits, and I won't be shocked if 1, 2, 3 don't end up signing that aren't Louisiana guys or aren't guys we're talking about right now. And it wouldn't be a shock to anyone who follows recruiting closely. But the lone uncommitted guy is Jakeem Stewart. Here's our weekly update. He is at Southern Cal right now. I have them running 4th of the 4 teams that are in the mix here. LSU had their official visit for the Bama game, and then Ohio State and Oregon are in this. The national side still thinks this might be Ohio State or Oregon. I just can't bet against Frank Wilson in New Orleans when it comes to Carr and Aug kids, which he's both now. So I still lean LSU with a few weeks left here, and I'm not 100% convinced that Jakeem knows where he's going, given he reclassified and now has to make a decision in a much shorter window. But give me the Tigers there until I hear something differently. I'm not in the panic mode that a lot of LSU fans were after that Alabama loss.
Shay, if you don't get a souvenir T-shirt from Epcot, I'm going to be severely disappointed, okay? So just, good luck with that, and we'll check out on 3 after the game while you're working, right?
That's true. I'm just glad I avoided the FaceTime, so at least I didn't have to deal with any of that.
All right, Shay, hey, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, boys. I'll see y'all.
All right, we're just about ready for kickoff in the 11 o'clock window. We'll take a break, check in with Matt Moscona when we come back. Here at Rouse's, your game day headquarters, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. After Further Review on Game Day. After Further Review is heard weekday afternoons at 3 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from AFR, here's Matt Moscona.
Countdown to kickoff, 3 hours and 30 minutes before LSU and Florida tangle in Gainesville as we get the 11 o'clock games kicked off right now. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Hey, guys. Good. How are y'all?
Fantastic. Ugly game in Baton Rouge last week for LSU. So now we got to talk about, before we talk about any X's and O's, we got to talk about mindset. Okay, a lot of the goals are at the very best on life support. So what mindset, attitude, what kind of bounce back are you expecting from LSU today?
I think, I think over the years, one thing that I've definitely learned is players look at things differently than fans do. I think that's true in recruiting. I think it's true as the season goes along. And different players have different motivations. Some guys are putting out good tape for the NFL. Some guys will be getting their first opportunity to play, want to get better. But by and large, man, when you tee it up and kick it off, everybody wants to go play well at Florida today. I think the bigger question is, how did the week of preparation go? Were they locked in? And we're not there to see it. But by all accounts, I mean, they have a very real path still to the SEC championship. So it would be very disappointing if LSU went out today and played very poorly.
There also seems to be a real edge for LSU in the pass game against what Florida's got in the secondary, given the personnel today. Now, in a perfect world, you'd like to say, hey, you get balance and, that's all wonderful to say. But I'm of the opinion that LSU's not going to just discover a running game today. So this is a little bit on Nussmeier again. And for him, it's going to be about limiting the mistakes. What are you expecting out of the quarterback?
Yeah, I agree. Look, with a 9-game sample, like, you are what you are. And LSU is a team that's not very good running the football. Now, Caden Durham, I think, has the potential to be special, and at times has popped this year, and maybe he does today. But Florida is without 4 starting defensive backs. Jason Marshall and Devin Moore, their 2 starting corners, they're out. Asa Turner and Jakeem Jackson have already been ruled out. Trikweze Bridges, who's a safety, is moved to cornerback. Cormani McClain, who's a transfer from Colorado, is getting the start today as well. Like, they're a mess. Florida's a mess in the secondary. And LSU, the one thing that, again, through a 9-game sample, we know they consistently can do is throw the ball and keep Nussmeier upright. So if the offensive line keeps Nussmeier upright, they should be pretty good today at throwing the football.
Let's flip sides. We know about hamstring injuries. We know how they linger. We know about how long it takes. Most of them, they're not all the same, to heal. We saw DJ Lagway go off on a cart 2 weeks ago. Ordinarily, I'd be screaming at the top of my lungs, hey, guys, learn how to defend a quarterback run because you haven't for the last 2 weeks. But, man, I'm just not convinced that guy can go out there and move very much. I think Florida's in a spot where they know if Aiden Warner goes out there, he's simply overmatched. It's not his fault. He's just not an SEC quarterback. He's a walk-on that was there in case, of an emergency. Well, they had an emergency. I think Lagway's out there going at significantly less than 100%.
We know a lot about hamstring injuries if you're a sports fan in Louisiana, especially of the Saints and the Pelicans.
Right.
I mean, Jose Alvarado, they just put Jose Alvarado on the shelf for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. I mean, if you mean to tell me that 14 days after DJ Lagway was carted off the field, he's just going to be rip-roaring, I just don't believe it. This feels to me like the Trey Harris situation at Ole Miss. Now, they gave him a shot. They taped him up. He tried to give it a go, and by halftime, he was in sweat sitting on the bench. Listen, I'm not pulling for this young guy who's super talented to be injured or get hurt or anything like that. But I don't know, guys, how he finishes this game. I mean, it's God bless him. He's going to give it a go. But the first time you aggressively plant and test that thing, I mean, we all know it. Like, you don't have to be an elite athlete. We all watch sports. I mean, hamstring injuries linger. The only thing that heals it is time. We saw with Marshawn Lattimore his whole career in New Orleans. So, I mean, he got traded to the Commanders. He still hasn't played in 2 weeks. So, I mean, no, I think Lagway, they're going to try to protect him, sit him back there and see if he can sling it around a little bit. But I don't think Lagway's feet are what's going to beat you today.
All right, I promised myself I wasn't going to do it, and I'm going to fall into this trap anyway. I know that there is a path for LSU to the SEC championship game. I'm going to let you give your thought. Okay. No, I'm going to let you go first. Go ahead. Give it to me and give me your thoughts on that.
So not only is there a path, it's a likely path. Muse will tell you we did this on AFR earlier in the week, and Muse, when I told you, because I sat at my desk, Kenny, and I was like, all right, look, I know mathematically there's a path for LSU, so let me actually write this down. What needs to happen to see how realistic it is? And the more I kept doing it, the more I'm checking my math. Is this actually right? And so, Muse, when I told you the path, what was your thought?
First of all, I was shocked that it was that realistic, honestly, and that they were really still in it. It's doable. You use the word likely. I think that's a great word for it. It's much more likely than I think anyone would have thought coming out of that Alabama game on Saturday.
So if you don't know, here's what has to happen. So LSU has to win out, and they'll be a favorite against Florida, Vandy, and Oklahoma. If Georgia beats Tennessee today, Tennessee now has a second loss. Ultimately, what would happen is it would go to the fourth tiebreaker, which is your cumulative conference opponent winning percentage. So basically, at the end of the season, you would look at LSU's 8 conference opponents and say, what are their win-loss records? You total it up, that winning percentage, boom. Of the tied teams, whichever of those has the highest winning percentage of their opponents, they go to Atlanta. And if Arkansas beats Missouri, LSU would win that tiebreaker, which is stunning. So all you need to have happen is Georgia beat Tennessee and Arkansas beat Missouri. If those two things happen and chalk holds and LSU wins out, you're in Atlanta against the winner of Texas A&M.
All right, here's my rebuttal. And nothing you just said is not factual. You are 100% grade A+ on the homework here. This is my deal. LSU is not one of the best 2 teams in the Southeastern Conference. I know they're not better than Texas A&M and Alabama. I just watched it. I don't think they're better than Texas or Georgia. I can't prove it, but I don't think they're better than Texas and Georgia. I don't know that they're better than Tennessee. I don't know that they're significantly worse than Tennessee, but I don't know that they're better than Tennessee. I don't think they're better than Ole Miss and South Carolina right now, even though they've beaten those teams. If they were playing them again this week, I wouldn't pick LSU against either team. In my head, God has somebody that handles the football office up in heaven, and he says every now and then, hey, listen, the 8th best team in the SEC is not allowed to go to the SEC championship game. Okay, that's just the way it is. This is not always fair, but, and like I said, you laid out the path. It's perfect. I just can't get my head around. LSU is nowhere close to the first 2 teams in the SEC right now. They could get there, but right now they're not. Okay, so that's my deal.
And here's my rebuttal. This is what happens when you have a stupid 8-game conference schedule for a 16-team league, and you ditch divisions. And, oh, by the way, when you had divisions, which were also stupid because you were trying to preserve those stupid rivalries that nobody actually cares about other than those fan bases, you ended up in seasons where Missouri, South Carolina went and got blown out in the SEC championship game. And, Hanny, I would also mention to you, 2001, my friend, LSU was a 3-loss team that got housed on their home field by Florida, blew a fourth-quarter lead on their home field to a sophomore Eli Manning, lost at Tennessee, got the rematch against Tennessee, and won 31-20 with a backup quarterback in Matt Mock in Atlanta, and went and won the Sugar Bowl. So that's why you keep playing the games. And this is the schedule that was set out. And maybe the football gods, if I were to rebut your football god in a heaven argument, maybe the football gods are doing this to say, hey, SEC, because your scheduling system is so stupid, we're going to make life miserable for you. We're going to have the 8th best team make your conference championship game, and a bunch of really good teams aren't going to make the playoff at 6-2. Ha! Fix it, idiots.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, heaven takes care of the results. Hell handles the schedule. Okay, that's just the way that
Okay,
goes.
fair
And I was at all those games in 2001, so I agree with you. And on the scheduling, we are in 100% lockstep. By the way, schedule this year, same as next year, except they're going to flip the home and away. So if this does spark some kind of change, all the better. Talk to ESPN, make them pay for the extra games, or screw the SEC when the playoff pairings come out, and you'll get the change that you're looking for. Matt, we got whiskey and wine immediately after LSU and Florida.
Yeah, and the sun will still be up. Well, maybe not, because it gets dark at 5 o'clock, so never mind. The sun won't still be up. So T-Bob will be a vampire either way, and doing all the things that T-Bob does. But yes, T-Bob and I will be at Don Juan Cigar Bar, so as soon as the clock hits 0, we'll be on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube and Facebook if you want to stream us, or come join us over at Don Juan in Town Center.
I read T-Bob's prediction on LouisianaSports.net. He's in a bit of a mood where Florida's concerned, isn't he?
I didn't read it yet, and I don't know that I want to.
I'm not giving any scores, and they better not help any Florida players up off the ground.
Okay.
So just
yeah,
you've been warned. Okay. So.
Oh God. Okay. Okay.
Good luck with post game. You tell me. All right. Thanks, Glenn. We appreciate it. All right.
Later, guys.
11 o'clock games are underway. We'll keep you up to date on those. Speaking of T-Bob, OTB on game day is next here from Rouse's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Off the bench on Game Day. Presented by Shell. Shell is the rhythm of Louisiana. Off the Bench is heard weekday mornings at 7 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now from OTB, here's T-Bob Hebert.
Jake, I want to ask you about this Florida football team and the year that they have had. The results are a bit interesting. So Florida opens the year, of course, getting absolutely trounced by Miami in the Swamp. And we're all like, oh, man, Napier, done. Then they beat Stanford. Then A&M goes into the Swamp, trounces Florida. And at this point, I thought Florida was teetering on the brink of completely collapsing. But they go to Starkville. They win 45-28. They host UCF, a team that at the time we thought was maybe still good, like we did preseason. UCF's not good, but there was some talk that, maybe UCF would beat Florida in the Swamp. No, they win that 24-13. Then they go to Knoxville, Tennessee. They give Tennessee everything that they want. And then probably the win that saved Billy Napier's job more than any, they host Kentucky, and they absolutely dominate Mark Poops and company 48-20. They go toe-to-toe with the Georgia Bulldogs in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. They actually had a lead at halftime. The game ended up being 34-20, but it was much, much, much closer than that. DJ Lagway ends up getting hurt. Who knows what happens if he doesn't. Really injuries, though, kind of defining this year's edition of the Florida Gators, as they're basically out there playing with a second string top to bottom nearly. And then so after that Georgia game, Scott Strickland comes out and says, hey, we're sticking with Billy Napier. And the most shocking part about that is the reaction to the news, of which I, too, fell right in line, and I agreed with it, was kind of like, that's probably the best option. Which is wild, that here you have a coach that will likely finish with a losing season again for the first time since the Great Depression. I think it'll be 4 years in a row for the Gators. And the reaction of bringing it back is like, but it's still got a very big buyout. It's a team that has not given up, even though they don't have a lot of talent right now because all their best players are hurt. They fight really hard. DJ Lagway is a very exciting young quarterback that seems to have a high ceiling that is tied in with Billy Napier.
Right.
And so it's like, why spend all that buyout money? You can put that money in NIL. Hopefully, so like they announced they bring Billy Napier back, and also like Scott Strickland kind of has to do this because I think their fates are tied together. So it's almost like he was giving himself a year stay of execution as well. But then the next week they come out and they go to Texas. They get dominated 49-17. Smart move by Strickland doing it ahead of the Texas game, though, because that news would not have hit the same if he tried to drop it after what happened on Saturday. So I see a Florida team that was awful in the beginning, but has gotten better through the year. But that LSU is clearly better than, and there is no excuse. I don't care that it's in the Swamp. A&M went in the Swamp and beat the hell out of them. Miami went in the Swamp and beat the hell out of them. I don't care that it's there. LSU should go win this game on Saturday.
Yeah, you should, and for all the reasons you laid out there, it is a very banged-up Florida football team. Quarterback, running back, receiver, you name it, they've had major injuries, to their best quarterback, to their best running back, to their best receiver. I will say this. I will agree. They are fighting. So they're fighting for their head coach. It's kind of like Arkansas. Like when people ask me, should Sam Pittman go? I'm like, well, they've got some big wins. They've played in some games. And I turn on the tape, and they're fighting for their guy.
Yeah.
They're playing hard. They haven't given up on him. Same thing for Florida. They likely to get, some of these guys back, but still, like, you can't you can't lose this one. It's
No.
a 4-5 football team that just got beat 49-17. They've gotten really kind of beaten like this against every good team they've played outside of maybe one. The
Georgia and Tennessee.
I still don't know how good Georgia right now. The Tennessee game, though, I mean, they had.
They should have beat Tennessee. They should have gone for 2.
Yes.
They had, for those that don't know, at the end of the game, they scored a touchdown to tie with about 30 seconds left. They had the opportunity to go for 2 and win the game, and for some inexplicable reason, Coach Napier decided to play for OT. I don't know why on the road against a better team. I don't care how game flow's going. I don't know why you choose to take that game into overtime. It's military theory. You keep the initiative, and you either live or die on that final play.
Yeah, it's, a couple of weeks ago when the Bengals go for 2, it's like they didn't get it, but I get it. I understand why they did it.
And it's funny you say you don't know if Georgia's good, but I mean, how funny is that about Tennessee? So we'll see Tennessee, Georgia this weekend, but Tennessee is a potential 2-point conversion away from losses to Arkansas and Florida. So how good is Tennessee as well? We'll find out more this week.
I know they have more weapons than Georgia because right now I think us 4 could line up and 11 personnel, and we might give Georgia
Well, Tennessee has Dylan Sampson,
a run for
and
it.
Georgia has
That's what I'm
nobody
saying.
close to Dylan Sampson for sure.
So, but again, you're going to get a team that's going to fight their butts off. I don't know what else they can do offensively without it being Lagway and his legs. Again, the receiver room is banged up. Man, you don't have any excuse for this one. You don't.
No.
Like, are you healthy? No, but you're much more healthier than they are. You have to go down to the swamp, make it 6 in a row. This is not a game that you can afford to lose. You can't. The narrative would be awful.
If LSU had suffered the same injuries that Florida had, LSU would probably be 4-5 right now. I mean, how many teams could survive losing their top 2 quarterbacks? They were literally doing a 2-quarterback system, and then both guys got hurt. How many teams could also survive losing their top running back, the top wide receiver, multiple defensive starters? It's bad out there. Then again, for LSU, we've seen just a god-awful 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have a crisis of confidence going on with this LSU team right now. And as we talked about, if you want to, a Brian Kelly program is built off of process and not letting the results, be the end-all, be-all and seep into the next result. In theory, that should be well-suited to handling adversity, like the last 90 minutes. But we're going to learn today. We're going to learn when you go into the swamp at 2:30 this weekend just how tough mentally this LSU team is. And so much of that stems out of Garrett Nussmeier. And look, I know that traditionally when you think of Florida, you probably think it's a pretty scary defense. It's just not the case this year. Second to last, 15th in the SEC in scoring defense. Second to last, 15th in the SEC in total defense. One of 2 defenses that gives up over 400 yards a game. So Garrett right now, like I said, I feel like the worst thing that he's going through right now is he's a quarterback that plays with anticipation, that needs anticipation, and after throwing a few picks in which he was not anticipating the defender being there, I think he has to prove that he can get back to trusting himself, trusting his reads, and being willing to grip and rip those courageous throws again.
Yeah, he has to. And right now it's probably some doubt in his mind. And there's probably a feeling of, can I, when that was never a question he asked himself before. And you got to get back into that. And you still have the advantage as far as what you have available in your weapons. And you have to get all that out of your memory bank, all the bad plays that you've had as an offense. I'm not just talking about Garrett Nussmeier here. And look, I'll bet you $1 to a donut that Florida is going to play cover 0 and have AA mugs.
Yeah.
I'll bet you whatever you want to bet. But either way, Florida is going to bring what Alabama brought, 10 different times and had success with it because you didn't show that you could pick it up. You never did. You know what I'm saying? So, and they have a very aggressive defense coordinator. Like, he'll do some Leroy Jenkins type stuff. And so he's going to do it.
And you got to prove to be able to beat it. Again, but like first pass at this Florida team, There's just nothing they really do well. Nearly any, nearly any statistic that you look up, they are 10 or below on the year. Like it's not exaggeration. So I know LSU feels down right now, but even though it's on the road, this actually represents a kind of perfect get right game for the Tigers. So can you lock in? Can you prove to be mentally and physically tough? Can you get right?
Get a free roof inspection by Garcia Roofing. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
.1. The Dependable Storage College Football Scoreboard. Dependable Storage. Let us store your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
At 11 o'clock, but here's what's going on. No score, Northwestern and Ohio State at the end of one at Wrigley Field. Northwestern's outgained Ohio State 118-30, and they had a drive that went all the way down to Ohio State 18-yard line, but fumbled. So no score at the end of one, Northwestern and Ohio State. Again, Buckeyes may just be gazing ahead a little bit to Indiana next week. Number 3, Texas, with an early touchdown pass from Quinn Ewers to Matthew Golden. They lead Arkansas 7-0, about 6 minutes to go in the first quarter there. Number 17, Colorado has just scored. Help me out here.
Yeah.
This is Shedeur Sanders to
Shepard.
Will Shepard.
Yeah, to Shepard.
Okay. Sanders threw an interception on the first play from scrimmage. Utah cashed that in for a field goal with the good field position. But Colorado, they had a 3rd and 24. They picked up about 19, and on the 4th and 5, they scored on that play.
They did. They had an offsides penalty as well, so free play, and he just threw it deep, and Shepard was there.
Well, Colorado leads at 7-3, 7:51 to go first quarter. Number 20, Clemson with a 7-0 lead on Pittsburgh. Cade. Why do I want to? I made a mistake like 15 times here. Cade Klubnik with a touchdown pass to Antonio Williams, 7-0 halfway through the first quarter. Tulane and Navy are scoreless with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. UMass leads Liberty 7-0 late in the first, and Louisiana Tech with a 3-0 lead on Western Kentucky with about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter there. Kicking off in about 15 minutes, UL Monroe and Auburn, and that is your early college football scoreboard. Remember, following the game, Whiskey and Wine from Don Juan's with Matt and T-Bob. We'll be back 90 minutes after the end of the game with Eagle 98.1 Game Day back in our flagship studios. We'll take a break. When we come back, Sean Kelly, the voice of the Florida Gators, visits with Matt Moscona. That's next here from Rouse's, your Game Day headquarters, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town is
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media. Presented by Rev. Rev. Fiber fast internet made in Louisiana.
Tigers Gators from the Swamp on Saturday, 2:30 Central Time. Sean Kelly will be on the call, the voice of the Gators. Our good friend's good enough to join us here for a couple of minutes. Sean, great to talk as always, man. How are you?
I'm well, but, you know, this good friend thing, I move away from Louisiana, and the only time you call is when the Tigers and Gators get together. What happened?
Guilty, man. I don't know. Hey, you know what?
Right.
Hey, let me flip it back to you. Since you've moved away from Louisiana, how many times have you called me, even when the Tigers and Gators are playing?
Bad sell, going through a tunnel. I don't know what you're talking about.
I love it. So good. Hey, the question everybody's asking here is about DJ Lagway. If he is limited, how does that change what Florida does offensively?
Everything. I mean, everybody asks me, like, what's the most important thing? Or I get the question, the Gators will win this weekend if, and I go, if DJ Lagway plays. I mean, that's the whole thing. Napier said last night that he's trending in the right direction. He has been practicing this week. It's one of those things, Matt. It's a hamstring. So, like, one day you're like, hey, I'm pretty good. Whatever you're doing's working. Get up the next morning, sucks. I think it's been a good week. But
yeah. So how does the offense change? We only saw a very small sample of Austin Warner, and quite honestly, last week against Texas was just brutal all the way around. Texas is a great team, and Florida's really limited personnel-wise. So do they change what they do, how the offense functions? I mean, obviously Lagway's a 5-star. He's an amazing talent, but how they function?
The base itself does not really change. What changes is what opens up as a result of what Lagway is able to do. Everybody talks about dual-threat quarterbacks. I don't know too many dual-threat quarterbacks that can have the arm that Lagway has. I mean, reminds me a little bit of Jaden in some ways, except DJ's been really good with the big ball. And so you have questions as a defense, what do I do with the box? Do I load the box because he's a dual threat? Do I lighten that box because I don't want to get beat on the deep ball? And so the difference between the offense under Warner and Lagway statistically tells you it's yards per play, right? But all that is translated by the fact that if Lagway does one thing successfully, it sets up something else. I don't know if Warner has the ability to strike you one way to set up the other thing. It's kind of more vanilla.
Yeah. The other thing is both teams are going to be very likely missing a starting offensive lineman. We'll see about Garrett Dellinger from LSU. Same thing with Damian George, the starting guard for Florida. How big of a deal is that if he doesn't play?
Well, again, he didn't play last week, and it was against Texas and with Warner at quarterback, so I didn't get a great read on it.
Sure.
But George has been really good since he moved over to guard. Here's this guy that rolls in from Alabama. He's as big as an Amazon warehouse. You're like, this is unbelievable. He's going to be a great tackle. Well, it just didn't work out. So this summer they moved him over to guard, and now it's translated much better for Damian George. And as a result, this line, after the first couple of weeks, has really gelled and found their collective groove. Take George out of there, and you mess with the groove a little bit. So I think they're hopeful that George can play this weekend. If not, Bryce Lovett will make his second start. And there is a little bit of a drop-off there. Everybody else on that line seems to be healthy and ready to go.
If you flip it over defensively, I can look at box scores and stat sheets and national rankings, and none of it looks particularly like a Florida defense. I think LSU can certainly commiserate there. Where are they good defensively?
At the linebacking position. And then Triquez Bridges is a versatile guy who might have to play cornerback for a second straight week. He was really coming along as a safety, but they're so banged up in the secondary right now. They've got pieces in different places, and even against Texas last week, he had third-string guys out there, or Cormani McClain making his second Gator start, or beg your pardon, first ever Gator start last week against UT, which is as good as I've seen him all year. Defensively up front, they're back to where I kind of thought they would be back in training camp. Yes, they miss Lyons. I mean, that's a big story that nobody really talks about when he went down with that gruesome injury in August. But Tyreek Sapp's been really good. Jack Pyburn has been a huge lift since coming back from the ACL. And really, ever since that first bye week, Matt, the Gators' defense, for the most part, has been serviceable.
Okay. What about Grayson Howard? He's going to miss this game. What do they do there at linebacker with Howard out?
Yeah, Jaden Robinson probably gets more run, and he's one of the two guys with best tackling grades if you're into the PFF stuff.
Sure.
But he probably rolls in there alongside Shamar James. Again, Pyburn's been kind of a hybrid edge linebacker guy that's come on strong. Howard's a loss because he's been one of the more – he's not the best guy on the Gators defense, but he's probably been the most consistent. And so that's a little different there. But you've got some depth. You've got Derek Wingo. Miles Graham has been a really nice story as a freshman. played in all the games. He'll get more snaps this week. But you'll miss Howard in some ways. Shamar, though, is still there to call the action.
Sean Kelly's with us, voice of the Gators. He's on Twitter, X at Sean Kelly Live, if you want to give him a follow there. Vegas has this one 3.5, 4, somewhere around there. So special teams could come into play. How are the Gators in the third phase?
Vastly improved from a year ago. I mean, last year was an absolute horror show. They might have the best punter in the nation, Jeremy Crawshaw, and he's had a real good ability of flipping the field for the Gators throughout the stretch that they played better than when they didn't last week. But anyway, Crawshaw's been great. Smack has been above average. They've got a really good long snapper. You don't talk about that guy very much, right? But he's been perfect all the way through. He's a semifinalist for that particular award. And he has a knack for getting downfield and making a tackle. I mean, it's kind of crazy how well he does in getting down to the return man. And then they've really kind of done a nice thing with Jim DK, who's a tremendous punt returner and wide receiver. Sometimes they'll put him at gunner, and on multiple occasions this year, he's run down and caught the punt inside the 10. So you don't really see that very often, but that's something that's served them well. So I think they're fine in that phase, and Crawshaw is the highlight of that group.
What's been sort of the mood there this week? Obviously, the game against Texas was disappointing, but the news that Billy Napier will be back, that's obviously a big story. What's it kind of like, Sean, at this point where I don't want to say it feels like a lost season, but there's been so much adversity, but Napier is going to come back. I mean, you're there every day. What does it sort of feel like around the program?
Let me give you the shortest answer I can on this. When Napier was on a real hot seat earlier in the season, the players probably had the opportunity, if they wanted to kind of give it in and maybe have some infighting in the locker room. They didn't. They wanted to play for Billy. They turned their season back in the right direction. The vote of confidence, if you will, was well received by the players. This group has the best culture since I've arrived in Gainesville. First year, not so great. Last year, a little bit better. This group I actually like being around a lot. That was one of the mysteries of the early season. What did I miss? Why haven't they started correctly here? But that character has come through with regard to their relationship with Napier and the ability to fight through the hot seat part and now all these injuries. They're getting guys back now from injury, and I think the vote of confidence having been well received, they look at these last 3 games as a chance to get bowl eligible. And if you think about Florida's schedule, that's an accomplishment in itself. And here's the final piece of this, Matt. All of Florida's best players are young guys on the roster, all Napier guys, and the future is now and with them moving forward. So it's not like you've got guys held over from the old program or have just had enough after 4 or 5 years. The guys that are producing are all the young guys, and they're pretty fired up right now.
Sean, part of the reason you might have missed it earlier as well, they played Miami and Texas A&M, who turns out those are pretty good teams. And that caused a little bit of the early bumps, but a tough finish. We'll see how it goes for the Gators. Tigers, 2:30 Central. Sean Kelly, voice of the Gators, will be on the call. Have a great call, man. I hope you have a miserable Saturday, but an otherwise wonderful rest of your week.
Matt, it's good to hear from you, and I appreciate your honesty as always. I'm ready for the losing streak to the Tigers to be over for the Gators.
And I am very ready for it to continue. You know what, Sean? I'll reach out to you Saturday if it continues. How about that? It won't even become on the OC. That's Sean Kelly.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Presented by Super Chevy. Talkin' Tigers. Talkin' Tigers. Defensive lineman Paris Shand.
Well, we're all competitors, so win, lose, draw, we're going to keep playing through the whistle. And me personally, I'm not result-oriented. I'm identity-oriented, and our identity is competitors. We're going to keep going. You might get knocked down. Things might not go your way, but as long as you get up and keep fighting, that's really all that matters to me. So as a team, as a whole, it's just about that identity is we're going to keep playing no matter what. We didn't have the game that we wanted to have this past weekend, but that's this past weekend. We have another game coming up, and we're going to go out there and fight and take what's ours.
Offensive lineman Emory Jones.
He's been taking it like a champ. That's our leader. That's the leader of the team, the leader of the offense, and he's been leading. He's been making sure everybody has good energy, positive energy, and everybody's attacking every day, and we love him for that.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
I'm pretty sure Coach Big, he's cooking it up right now for us. He's just trying to put us in a better position, to make plays. So that's all it's about. He's not the only person on the team, so on offense. So we got to prepare for everybody. So Coach Big, he's doing what he's supposed to do with that one.
Wide receiver Xavion Thomas.
Just Coach Diago and Coach Herb just putting me in the right position. The other 10 guys making great blocks for me because I can't do it all by myself. So shout out to the other 10 guys just creating the lanes and creating the holes for me so I can get some good yardage on it.
Defensive lineman Paris Shand.
I've never played in the swamp, so I'm just looking forward to the environment and going in there, having a competitive game and getting a W.
Offensive lineman Emory Jones.
Now how we're looking at it, we call a run play. Everybody's biting down on their chin strap and make sure that we make it work no matter what happens, post-snap, pre-snap, no matter, what's called, we're trying to make sure that run game's going. So, when we call a run play, we're biting down on our chin strap, we're getting low, we're getting gritty, and we're trying to make it work.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
The message has been, just to, keep fighting, keep trying to get better, make yourself better, play for your brothers. Just like any other loss or any other win, we just move on to the next game. The 24-hour rule, so we just getting better.
Wide receiver Xavion Thomas.
Nuss is a gunslinger. Like, our confidence in Nuss is to the ceiling. So we don't really worry about with Nuss, what he do and stuff like that. We know what he's capable of. We know he's a great quarterback. He's going to continue to put us in position to win games.
Defensive lineman Paris Shand.
It was a difficult lesson, You never want to have a game like that, but we had to figure out how to play through adversity, things going on. No matter where the ball is spotted or what's going on in the game, you just got to keep fighting. And I think that's something that we're going to carry through the season. People are going to carry through the rest of their careers after a game like that.
Offensive lineman Emory Jones.
It's just going to be a hyped up crowd. We play them at 2:30, and
What I remember most from my freshman year is coming out of the half. They did this little song, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was nighttime. The game was at night, so they did this little song, and it was cool. So I'm kind of looking forward to going back and hearing it again, and hopefully we'll be big on it.
Cornerback Ashton Stamps.
The mindset is just sticking to the process. We still trying to get better. We still developing, and just we still playing football. At the end of the day, like I've been wanting to play at LSU since I was a kid, so I use that as a motivation, and I use my brothers as a motivation.
Wide receiver Xavion Thomas.
That's every week. Even with a win, it's things that we got to correct because it's hard. It's very hard to play a perfect game when you play from 60 to 70 snaps. So it's always correction to win, lose, or draw.
Defensive lineman Paris Shand.
We're preparing to just do our jobs. We have a good game plan with Coach Baker. So just doing your job, being disciplined in the gaps. As long as we do what we're supposed to do, we can hold anybody, I think.
Offensive lineman Emory Jones.
Coach Kelly and the staff has done a really good job at bringing, good guys in the building. Not one of them was unmotivated. Everybody came out today. We just had practice. Everybody came out with fire in their eyes, trying to get better, trying to figure out what we can do to, do what we need to do for Florida game. So focused on Florida, trying to beat them, and then we're going to just keep going, keep advancing through the season.
Talking Tigers. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the V. Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
A little over 2.5 hours years from now. We bring in Richard Dixon, who'll be with me on postgame 90 minutes after LSU and Florida. Rich, good morning still for a few minutes. How are you?
Doing good, man. Just enjoying the early slate of football.
You know, I got a kick out of, we do station predictions on the new website, louisianasports.net. And so T-Bob's prediction was no score. Don't help any Florida players up off the ground. I just want to win. It's time to stop being nice. And Hester didn't bother with any description at all. He just, and I got the joke, I think you will too, he just put down LSU 28, Florida 21, which I think you understand the significance of that. So I know what this game used to mean to you guys. The rivalry is not what it used to be, but for guys like T-Bob and Hester and for you, this was the game for a long time on LSU's schedule.
No doubt. I mean, this was a team that, was one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league, won 2 national championships while I was playing against them. They were always the team that we had to go out there. They had the Tim Tebow was the quarterback that everybody in America loved. It was just, the team you had to go beat.
And playing in that stadium, I don't know what kind of crowd they're going to get today. It's not the best, not the best season for them, and they've got a reputation as a fan base of being fairly fair weather. But you've played in that stadium when it's been at its loud. I've been in that stadium when Danny Werfel was having his Heisman Trophy year. I know how loud it can get. What's it like playing in the swamp?
It was the hardest place I ever played when I was in college football. That place was rocking. The way it's built, there's so many flat walls in there. Just the sound echoes off the walls. It gets loud and crazy. It's people hanging over the rafters screaming at you the whole time. And it was a tough place to play back in the day when they're rolling.
I tell this story. Jimmy and I went there to cover game 1996, and we had media passes, and we didn't find out until we got to the actual game that they were sideline passes and not press box passes. Yeah, sounds good, right? Except that we were standing shoulder to shoulder and could not hear each other. And Danny Werfel had just one of the best games I've ever seen a quarterback had. He was throwing 25-yard out routes like he was handing the ball to Quez Green and Ike Hilliard and Reedell Anthony in that group. So I know, I understand, I didn't play there, but I've been down on the field and I know exactly how loud it is. Don't know if it'll be like that today, but wanted to get your perspective on that. Okay, Rich. Garrett Nussmeier has got an opportunity today to bounce back. This is a Florida secondary that's fighting some injuries. They've got 4 different DBs that are out. But where Nussmeier's gotten himself in trouble is being a little bit too careless with the football sometimes. So how do you balance that, get the confidence back, and probably take advantage of some matchups without getting carried away?
This is one of those games he needs to do what he did earlier in the season. He needs to hit his check down, rely on Mason Taylor, take the easy stuff, the 5, the 7, the 10-yard route, and don't feel the pressure to push it downfield every time.
When you went back and watched the film against Alabama, obviously we saw, a couple of big mistakes, but were there some opportunities missed?
It was, I think you can get into that run game early on. The first drive we had some great runs out of pistol. The guys were getting some movement. You had Durham just making some plays. And then, Nussmeier just got to hit recognize the coverage. What they've done really well against him is mix things up, make it look like man, and drop in the zone. It's confusing lately. He's just got to get back to reading his keys, understanding what's going on, and just take the play as it comes.
You've talked a lot in our film study on the Handycast on YouTube about running the ball out of the pistol and how it's probably the most effective formation for LSU to run the football out of. Explain for those that haven't gone back and watched the film, and if you haven't, you really should, that this is a formation that LSU can do a lot of different things with motion and really kind of disguise better a little bit about what they're trying to do in the run game.
Well, that's the biggest thing. It just doesn't give you keys on where they're going. They can go either direction. You're not giving any dead looks like where we're earlier in the season. We run a lot of the zone read, and we know that Nussmeier's not going to pull it. Early on in the season, the defensive end respected it. Later now, they're just all crashing, understanding he's not pulling it, and it kind of cuts off the field. And that makes everybody realize that you can only run one way run one direction depending on where the running back's lined up. So it just opens things up, gives you more options, and just makes guys have to play both sides of the ball.
Now, explain what happened in the first quarter. Durham gets the long 45-yard run. LSU came back to a play that was almost the same. but it lacked the motion pre-snap, and Alabama was able to not only diagnose it, but they were able to diagnose it before the ball was even snapped. They're pointing exactly where the ball is going to go. Explain why that pre-snap motion is so important.
Well, it just makes them have to adjust. You saw against Alabama the first time when we motioned into the pistol. The safety came down off the left side, and he had to carry the running back if he was coming out the left side man. Later in the game, we'll just line up in it. The safety doesn't come out of the box. He actually plays a little bit down, and he sits right there in the hole and able to make a play where he busted the long one.
This is what we're talking about when we talk about predictability, and it sounds like a little thing, the tight end motion. It's a huge thing. It got the safety out of the box. There was another sequence that we showed. Rich, you can explain it better than I can, where the linebacker completely took himself out of the play before the pre-snap. He goes all the way to the right side of the formation. LSU's run it completely the opposite way. When they came back and ran it again without the motion, he's there to make the play.
Yeah, it's just, pre-snap motion is such a big deal in college football. Now, I'm sure in the NFL a lot. It makes guys move. It makes them kind of show where they're going to go. Linebackers, DBs, they don't want to line up in a bad position. So when you're motioning, they're trying to protect, one side of the ball, get out of rhythm, and then, it just makes guys have to move a lot. When you're just coming up and running base offense, lining up, these guys don't have to move. They get lined up at the first place, and then it makes everybody play more comfortable.
Now explain this to me, because I heard this when the Saints changed offensive coordinators, and to be honest with you, I didn't notice how much pre-snap motion the Saints had last year as opposed to this year until it was pointed out to me. A man in motion is a fairly common concept in football. It's not like this was invented a couple of weeks ago. So if this is so effective, why are they not doing it more, and why is this not a staple of the offense?
I think it's communication. I mean, if you're going to do a lot of pre-snap motion, you got to get the play in early, get lined up early, have time on the play clock to get things moving. When these guys are getting the call in late, or they're having to repeat themselves and get to the quarterback, you just all of a sudden line up in the where you're going to go. You don't have time anymore. When you're getting the play in at 10, 15 seconds of the play clock, you got to go straight, line up, and run the play.
Now I don't want to target anybody here, but I'm just going to quote the head coach here. This is something he said, one of his press availabilities this week. He said Joe Sloan has been making suggestions. Now he's got to make decisions. That's pretty telling to what you're talking about, Rich, is if they're not getting some of these pre-snap motions because the call's not getting in time. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, you want to run pre-snap motion. It's built into just about every play. But you cannot do it unless you're getting the play in early. Everybody's getting lined up and have time on the play clock to do it.
This is why on Monday during the press conference lasts about 30 minutes, give or take. I counted the word consistency about 1,400 times is what Kelly said on Monday. Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. Yeah. The first time you got it in, you got the motion, you busted the run. The second time, I don't know if it was because they didn't get it in, but they didn't run the motion. Alabama knew right where it was going, and you don't bust the big play. All right, what are you expecting today, Rich, from this game?
I'm expecting them to go out and play well. I mean, look, they've had a rough 2 weeks. We saw where the defense was getting better earlier on. These guys want to get the taste of a loss out their mouth. It's been a long 3 weeks with a loss, bye week, and a loss. They just want to get out there and get things going and play the way that they were playing in the middle of the season.
All right, we'll talk to you 90 minutes after the game. I hope you don't have to clear the wife and kids out today, okay? Let everybody, the whole family watch together, a nice viewing environment. Everybody's happy, and we have a nice post game. How's that?
Shoot, they're in Mississippi. I'm already alone. I'm good to
go. We'll check with you after the game, Rich. Thanks. I think we've reached our quota of punt returners catching fielding the ball inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
What are we at, like 2 or 3 today?
Today,
it's not even. It's barely noon.
And then Utah with the kickoff as well, kind of doing the same deal.
What are you doing? All right, we'll go back to Gainesville when we return. We'll go inside the stadium with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. That's next. Pregame at Rouse's, Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
.1 Eagle 98.1 Game Day inside the stadium. Presented by Louisiana Federal Land Bank. Louisiana Federal Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending.
About 2 hours and 20 minutes. Let's go back to Gainesville. Check in with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great, Charlie. Hope everybody's doing well back in Baton Rouge.
They are. Hey, listen, I understand that Coach Kelly owes you a cocktail because Thursday night he bought everybody at TJ Ribs a cocktail for coming out to the coach show, and this is the 1 week you had to miss. But you had a good excuse. You were doing good work in Manhattan, Kansas with the LSU basketball team. So tell Coach he owes you a drink.
I already have. I tell you, I was walking into the arena in Manhattan and I had it on streaming on the LSU mobile app just to make sure, Gordy, got on the air. And, right out of the gate, everybody's getting drinks. I'm like, the one time I missed, and everybody's got one on Coach's tab. But, it was a fun night in Manhattan. Good job by LSU basketball for sure.
Yeah, looks like a terrific start to the season from Matt McMahon's group. All right, let's talk about this trip and the preparation for this game. LSU, it's been a minute since they won a game with 2 losses and an off weeks. I know they're dying to get, like Richard Dixon said, the bad taste out of their mouth. What have you observed on this trip as they go about trying to get back on the winning streak?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the concentration, is going back to the things that, were successful on that run where LSU looked like they were improving each and every week. And obviously over the last 2 contests, it certainly has dropped back. But, the focus has been good. I mean, it's been a pretty serious, trip over here to Gainesville. Got into the hotel just around sundown yesterday. And, I mean, the look on everybody's faces is we were certainly on a business trip, more like really a mission. as they get ready to take on this Florida team. And, I think they're locked in. I mean, goodness knows, as Coach Kelly says all the time, they don't really have to talk about what's, being bantered about in the college football circles. And, there is a slight chance, not unreasonable chance, that LSU could find themselves in good fortune come the end of the season. But it all is for naught if you don't get back to what was successful. And I think that falls on everybody. Every operation on this football team really didn't have their best showing over the last two games. And if you want to hope to maybe have some things bounce your way and things go well, you got to go out and take care of business. And that means today against the Florida team that certainly is playing with house money. Their coach got a vote of confidence. They're going to try to go with their first backup quarterback with a hamstring. And again, Florida right now, it's LSU coming to town, and they haven't beaten LSU in 5 years. So there's no doubt the Gators have plenty of motivation. I hope the Tigers do and get out to a very good start on the road.
Give me, as much as you can, paint the picture there. We were just talking with Richard when his teams, played in Gainesville, Florida, was at the very top of their game. That can be among the loudest stadiums in the country when it's right. I don't know what kind of mood there is there. Relief that Napier's back, anger that he's going to be back, confidence that, they can finish strong. I have no idea. You kind of give me your best read on what the atmosphere might be like in the Swamp today.
I don't expect it to be the type that Richard endured. In fact, I said it earlier this week talking to Hunt. I mean, to be honest with you, for me, it's really been since 2018 since the Swamp has been anything remotely close to what the Swamp was. And by the way, that 2018 win for Florida was kind of a surprise. It wasn't as if they were gangbusters. But then the last couple of trips we've come over here, it's not been the same. I will tell you, running into a couple of Florida fans this morning around the hotel, I got the sense, again, it's not a huge sample size, Charlie, but I got the sense it's almost going back to Muschamp. I mean, it's kind of what you said, which is okay. We're behind the Gators, but we're not quite convinced that, okay, he'll be back for another year. In the same way that, ironically enough, in 2013, Georgia Southern, I came down here and witnessed them beat Florida, and everybody thought Muschamp was going to be let go the next day. That didn't happen. It was a year later. It almost gave me the same sense, at least from the small sample size of talking to some Gator fans. They're not super excited or optimistic.
We'll see how it plays out today. And for Garrett Nussmeier, I think this is a big game. There'll be we've talked about the matchups. There'll be some injuries in the secondary that maybe LSU can take advantage of some matchup advantages there. But he's had a rough couple games. He's thrown 5 interceptions in the last 2. It's a big bounce back spot for him.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, the media down here in Gainesville, from television to the newspaper, when you read the stories on this game, Charlie, it's all about, Nussmeier second in the league with interceptions. He's prone to throw the ball to the other team. Florida's defense can really take advantage of that. And with Lagway back, a team that has shown the inability to stop a dual threat quarterback, albeit whether or not his hamstring is anywhere close to 100%, that's what they think. And for that reason, I think Nussmeier has got an opportunity today and over the next 3 weeks to kind of change that narrative where I think a lot of people have already sold Nussmeier. And, hopefully there's a chance today to come out, get back on track, get his receivers utilized, use every inch of the field, use all of the throws at his disposal, and exploit this Florida Gator defense on the back end.
And Chris, I don't think it's an unfair narrative. If I were, on the other side, that's what I would be preaching. Try to get him to throw you one. If I were playing Georgia, I'd say the same thing. Carson Beck's thrown, a league-high 12 interceptions. That would be my narrative as well from the other side. So I think that's fair, and it's up to Nussmeier to go out and change minds today. All right, what's coming up at the bottom of the hour? We hand it over to Network Pregame.
Well, of course, it'll be Marlon and Hunt. Brandon had a scheduled trip, so he's out this week. But those two guys will be ready to go from the Capital One studio. It's always interesting. Hunt loves Florida just like I do, so that should make for some pretty good conversation. And then we're going to dig into men's tennis. Going to be happy to have Coach Brian join us and talk about men's tennis, what they did in the fall, and what they're hoping to do in the spring. So then they'll hand it off to us here in the Swamp.
Chris, have a great call and a safe trip back. We'll talk to you next week when LSU takes on Vandy.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. All right, just over 2 minutes to go to the half, and Fayetteville, Arkansas hanging around. It's 10-0 Texas, but the Hogs, who have not played well offensively one little bit, are within 10 points, so we'll keep you up to date on that. Come back and give you a full scoreboard. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Brandon Hawley here. Wood windows with a lifetime guarantee? ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1 WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
98.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
Ohio State restoring order, I guess.
Yeah.
21-7, about 40 seconds to go to the half. Northwestern is... Look, we didn't expect them to win this game, but they came out good first quarter. If they don't fumble the ball on the 18-yard line going in, this is a close. Yeah, maybe give them a field goal there at least. They're hanging around. This is not Ohio State's best showing. Again, they're just trying to get through this thing at Wrigley Field and get to Indiana next week. Texas 10-0 on Arkansas. They're inside of 2 minutes to go now. Quinn Ewers has thrown a touchdown pass, but Arkansas is hanging around. The defense is keeping them in the ball game. Taylor Green threw an interception. It was not a real good idea, and they have not been able to run the ball at all against Texas. But The defense is keeping them in it for now, 10-0, just before the half. Colorado leads Utah 14-3. Shedeur Sanders has a touchdown pass. Colorado has also returned a punt for a touchdown. About 7.5 minutes to go. About 7.5 minutes to go in the first half. Number 20, Clemson leads Pittsburgh 14-7. Cade Klubnik has thrown 2 touchdown passes, both of them to Antonio Williams. Number 25, Tulane leads Navy 14-0. Story in this game is Blake Horvath, the quarterback for Navy. He's had a phenomenal year. He went out of this game with a rib injury. They're also talking about back spasms. He has not returned.
He has returned. He came back in on the last drive.
Okay, just came back in on the last drive. They're under 2 minutes to go to the half in Annapolis. 14-0 wave there. And that is at your college football scoreboard. Pretty light schedule here at 11 o'clock. We'll take a break, come back, give you our final thoughts before we hand it over to the LSU Sports Radio Network here at Rouse's, your game day headquarters for all of your tailgating needs, whether you're tailgating out by the stadium or you're doing it at home. Listen, you come into the store, you turn left, you got the bakery, you've got the deli, you got the Mongolian grill, plus all of your beer, all of your wine, all of your spirits, huge selection of all 3 of those things. You go to the Rice, a traditional grocery store with all the things you might need for not just tailgating, but also for the holidays, which are right around the corner. So come on in and check it out at Rouse's. Next 2 weeks, you're coming in for tailgating. Tons of ice. You're never going to be out of ice. So you come over here at Rouse's and check out the app. You can shop a little bit easier with the Rouse's app. Here at the corner of Burbank and Lee. Back with some final thoughts. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The best kept secret.
98.1.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues here at Rouse's as we've got some final thoughts. You know, there's an old saying, it says, do the right thing even when nobody's watching. Well, it's not that nobody's watching today, but a lot less people are watching than were watching a week ago. As far as the college football world, last week LSU had the focus of the college football world on Tiger Stadium. Everything was on the line. Southeastern Conference, the playoffs, a overflowing crowd, and it just didn't happen. It wasn't there. It was a lousy game. It was a bad effort. It was bad preparation. Whole thing, real bad. Okay. So the next week, you got to come back. You still got to go to work. The results weren't what you wanted. And when you feel like you put the work in and the results aren't what you wanted, it's that much harder to get back up and do it again. This is what pros do. This is what responsible people do. This is what accountable people do. When you can go out and take that shot, you know, and get back up off the canvas and say, hey, listen, I'm still going to do the right things. I'm still going to go do my job. I'm still going to give it everything I've got, even if I'm not going to get the accolades that I would have gotten. Listen, I'm not telling you they would have torn down the goalpost last week and thrown them in the Mississippi River if they'd have beaten Alabama, but it would have been a damn good time. They win today, it's going to be pretty much, okay, yeah, good job. We'll see you next week. And that's not what anybody is, you know, hoping for when they put the uniform on, but it's necessary. It's one of those things that you got to do. You don't want to go to the dentist, you know, twice a year, but you do if you don't want your teeth to rot. Mm-hmm. So that's what's on the line for LSU today. This is an accountability thing. This is do your job. And, Richard talked about it. Matt talked about it. We've talked about it. Everybody's got their own motivation. It might be a motivation for put some good film out there for the NFL. It might be, hey, I'm just trying to, keep my spot for next year or gain a spot for next year. Or maybe somebody gets some playing time today that's unexpected. Whatever the reason, go out there and do your job on the road against a team that, quite frankly, you should beat. Florida is not the best. They're not bad. They're certainly capable of beating you, but they're not at their best. They are a wounded football team. They are a football team that it's got a coach that is coming back next year, but nobody's really sure if the whole fan base, I thought Chris did a good job of describing that, they're all in on. So today, to me, is about accountability. And will you go out there and react the right way to the most adversity you've had all season?
Especially with a game, Haney, that really sets up for you finally. Like, you're not facing the mobile quarterback. Well, at least not one that can actually hurt you right now. You can pin your ears back and hopefully go after him. That's something you've been good at. They're injured on the receiving core. You've covered well. And, oh, by the way, Garrett Nussmeier's strength is throwing the football, and they're down 4 defensive backs. So it sets up for you. I want to see decisiveness and poise from Nuss. And if he gives you decisiveness and poise, because he's looked really shook up the last 6 quarters, the result will take care of itself in regards to him and LSU moving the football down the field. But I'm with you. Said it at the start of the show, a get-right game, something to go positive for them. Get back to their winning ways, accountability, and this one sets up for you finally again.
And then all of those things that you talked about as far as that, long path to the season and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that anymore until it happens,
right?
Until it happens, yeah. But hey, that's fine. All right, we'll send you to the Swamp. Colorado 14-6 over Utah. That game is about 3 minutes to go to the half, and Arkansas trailing Texas 10-0. That game is almost to the half in Fayetteville. We'll be back 90 minutes after the end of LSU and Florida. Richard Dixon will join me in the studios, and we'll take your phone calls following this game. Don't forget about Whiskey and Wine with Moscona and T-Bob. That is from Don Juan Cigar Bar. That is immediately following the end of LSU in Florida. For Matt Musso and all of us here at Rouse's, for our whole crew back at the flagship, I'm Charles Henniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Enjoy the game. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The following is an exclusive presentation of the LSU Sports Radio Network.